So free agency gets here and Twitter goes out. Conveniently, Twitter goes out on the most important day of the NFL offseason calendar. Twitter just decides to just go kaput. I think as fans of the NFL, we should be proud of ourselves for being able to crash the X website. Did not think that was possible, but here at last, we've done it. Pat yourselves on the back. So we're getting information, bits and pieces from X and Bleacher Report and IG for some of you. We're scrambling all over the place. ESPN's dropping some updates here and there, but we'll piece it all together, man. Let's ride out. NFL free agency tampering period is here. And so am I. Let's get to it. You know what it is. Louie T Network podcast starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 488th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully, this Monday has found you in great spirits. And this is going to be a crazy week. We've talked about it, kind of set the tone last night. We know it's going to be a lot of activity going on, a lot of movement. And we've already seen some today. And we'll talk about some of those things, kind of get you caught up to speed on where we are with some of these transactions. Teams are getting busy. And you're seeing what exactly we thought we would see, right? A lot of teams taking care of their own guys. We had some things that we have to clean up that happened over the weekend that we have not discussed on this platform quite yet. Obviously, you're seeing also some teams be aggressive and going out, and the offensive line is the first thing you're seeing coming off the board. Really, the trenches, offensive and defensive line, are the two things you're seeing come off the board rather quickly in this free agency period, which we expected. I think you're going to see the cornerback market start to heat up here shortly. And the edge rusher market's going to start to sort itself out. We already saw the Bucs be aggressive there, going out and getting Hassan Reddick. So we'll talk about all the things that have transpired to this point. But let's get you caught up to speed on where we are right now. Give you my thoughts on some of these moves, and then we'll go back and talk about some of the big moves that happened over the weekend. The DK Metcalf trade, the subsequent extension, the Geno Smith trade. I think he's going to get an extension here shortly by the Raiders. Obviously, Harold Landry going to the New England Patriots. So a lot of things transpired. Obviously, the biggest news probably of the weekend was Myles Garrett rescinding his trade request and signing a massive extension to stay in Cleveland. So we'll get to all of those things here in a bit, but let's start knocking down some of these latest transactions. So Derek Barnett is going back to the Houston Texans. I think they traded for him last offseason from the Philadelphia Eagles, and he actually played really well for them, made some big plays. I think he had a couple of touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, in 2024. So they're going to have him back on a 1-year, $5 million deal. The Titans are loading up on their offensive line. So Steelers left tackle Dan Moore, former Steelers left tackle Dan Moore, is going to Tennessee on a 4-year, $82 million deal with 50 of it guaranteed. So that is a massive, massive deal for Dan Moore, who was one of the free agent guys that was left. Again, that market was slim pickings after Ronnie Stanley went back to Baltimore, and I think right as free agency got underway, the Chiefs dove in and got them a tackle. So that market was already very, very thin to begin with, and which is why I think you see the amount of money Dan Moore ended up getting from the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, the Titans aren't a great destination right now, so if you want guys to come there, you're going to have to pay them. Let's see. Um, Jimmy Garoppolo back with the Rams on a 1-year deal up to $11 million. We heard that Sean McVay really, really likes Jimmy Garoppolo, so that's not a surprise to me. Um, I talked about the trenches and teams really getting aggressive in the trenches. The Bears have been among the most aggressive in trying to shore up that offensive line in front of Caleb Williams. We know about the 2 trades that they've already made at the guard positions to try to fortify the interior. They're not done there. The center position has now been solidified as they give former Falcon Drew Dahlman a 3-year contract worth $42 million. So you're seeing the Bears be very aggressive in their pursuit to protect their investment in Caleb Williams. This was something that I told you was going to get done when the Bucs pushed out Chris Godwin's contract ending date. This was kind of on the wall. The writing was on the wall. They pushed this all the way up to literally 11:59 at the very end of the window before the tampering period got underway. But the Bucs reached a deal with wide receiver Chris Godwin, 3 years, $66 million, $45 million of it guaranteed at signing. So they get their guy back. So they got Levante David back, which we expected them to do. They got Chris Godwin back, which we expected them to do. Here's something that we didn't know they were going to do. They also signed pass rusher Hassan Reddick to a 1-year, $14 million deal. 12 of it is guaranteed. So you see what the market is at the pass rushing position. This guy's coming off a miserable season last year. Obviously, he had some contractual situations where he wanted out of Philadelphia after they didn't want to pay him. He was traded to the Jets. He assumed he was going to get paid there. They didn't want to pay him. And so he sat out most of the season. You know the story. Was not productive when he came back. And the Bucs are hoping he gets back to the form that he was at prior to last season when he was a double-digit sack getter for about 3-4 years straight. So that's good money for a guy that struggled last year, right? So we'll see what else happens. And then the Commanders make their first big splash of the tampering period. Washington to sign defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw, the former first-round pick of the San Francisco 49ers. You can connect the dots there and see how that deal got done. 3 years, $45 million, $30 million guaranteed. It's very similar to the deals that they gave out to most of the guys that got 3-year deals last year. You're talking Dorrance Armstrong, I think, got a very similar deal. May have been the exact same deal, if I'm not mistaken, but somewhere in that same neighborhood, $15 million a year for a former first-round pick, a guy that is ascending as a player, right? Was traded from San Francisco to the Jets and spent last year in New York and had his best season of his career. For the first time in his career, he played in all 17 games, started all 17 games, had a career high in snaps, had a career high in sacks with 5, and also forced 2 fumbles. So this is a guy that they feel like is starting to just reach his full potential. Again, this was a guy that could not stay healthy to save his life in San Francisco. Then his last year in San Francisco started to play better. They traded him away to the Jets. Then he played his best football of his career last season, and he's an ascending player. And in my estimation, Adam Peters is looking at this guy like, hey, this is the guy that we saw coming out of South Carolina that we were mesmerized by enough so to trade up to get him, right? I think they actually traded back a pick, allowed the Bucs to come up and get Tristan Wirfs, and then they took Javon Kinlaw because they moved on from Eric Armstead. So, or not Eric Armstead, they moved on from DeForest Buckner, traded him to Indianapolis. So I think this is Adam Peters saying this guy has a chance to be the guy that I thought he was going to be coming out of college. And he's trending in that direction. And so that's what they're going, that's what they're basing this off of. And again, a lot of people are going to be looking for names, and that's not what free agency is about. It's about finding, which is why I'm a big Michael Jackson guy. And he's not a name, right? He's not a name, But if he fits what you're doing and he fits in the time frame and he's at the right age and he fits all of the things that you're looking for, that's what you should be looking to do. So I think those BJ Hill back with the Bengals. I think this deal came in right before the tampering period got underway. BJ Hill back on a 3-year, $33 million deal, $16 million of it guaranteed. So that happened there. I think that's where we are right now. Again, we're still getting, updates here and there on X. I don't know if your X is working. Mine is still not working as far as I can tell. Um, but I'm still getting like updates here and there. But mine is still not working. So, but I am getting updates. Cowboys, former cornerback Jordan Lewis signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. That happened about 10 minutes ago. He's going to agree to sign with the Jags on a 3-year, $30 million deal, $20 million of it guaranteed. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that puts him in the neighborhood of the highest paid nickel corner in the NFL. So something to keep an eye on. Let's see. Carlton Davis has agreed to a 3-year, $60 million contract with the New England Patriots. I told you you're going to start see these corners. I just told you about one of them, and Jordan Lewis going to the Jaguars. Here's another one in Carlton Davis going to the New England Patriots. The Patriots have a ton of money to spend. They're going to pair him with Gonzo on the opposite side and hope to put together a formidable group on the back end. They just signed Harold Landry as an edge rusher. So they're looking to get pressure and they're looking to cover on the back end. So they're going to try to remake that defense, give them a chance to compete at a high level. And Carlton Davis signs a 3-year, $60 million contract, 34 and a half of it fully guaranteed for the former Buccaneer and Detroit Lion. Panthers are looking to finalize a deal with defensive tackle Milton Williams. The free agent from the Super Bowl defending champion Philadelphia Eagles was going to be a hot commodity. We knew that. It looks like he is going to end up potentially in Carolina now. That's not a finalized deal, but they are working towards getting something done there. That would be a big get for them because they have a really good defensive front. Do the Carolina Panthers. Adding him to the mix would really give them a big boost there. So something to keep an eye on there. Also, we're still waiting on the edge rusher from the Eagles, Josh Sweat, and where he'll ultimately end up. He feels like a guy that's going to probably end up leaving the Philadelphia Eagles as well, which all of these were expected moves. If the Eagles wanted those guys back, they would have been aggressive in taking care of them like they've done pretty much all the other guys that they've taken care of at this point. So we'll continue to bring you more news as things come out. So speaking of which, the Chiefs agreed to a 2-year, $30 million deal with former 49ers offensive tackle Jalen Moore. He looks to be their new left tackle. We'll see how that works out for them. But we knew they were going to be aggressive in fortifying that offensive line. It was an embarrassment, a shit show in the Super Bowl. And much like the last time the Chiefs, lost in the Super Bowl when they got destroyed up front and they, overcorrected. I thought they were almost too aggressive in how they pursued the offensive line, but I don't know if you can ever be too aggressive in fixing and fortifying your offensive line. But they did that year, and it paid off for them. I expect them to do the same this year, and they've already slapped the franchise tag on Trey Smith. They've traded away one of their guards to the Chicago Bears. And now they're signing a tackle from the 49ers in Jalen Moore. Okay, so we'll see how that works out for the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, not a household name, but a guy that they feel good about, right? So we'll see how that works out for them. See if anything else has happened that we didn't actually get to. Okay, so I think we're all caught up right now. A lot of things going on very rapidly, as we expected. That's what this free agency thing is all about. It's aggressive, it's fast, it's in your face, it's very high paced. We knew that this would be the case, and so we'll just continue to stay as plugged in as we can, given the limitations of one of our most reliable sources, X, being not at its max efficiency right now. But we're still getting updates, which I don't know how Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport and all those guys, the Twitter accounts are still working, but we can't have access to it. But whatever, it's still giving me my updates, which is all I need anyhow. So with that said, let's now talk about some of the things that have transpired already. I think the most shocking thing that I saw over the weekend, and I'd said that I wasn't shocked by anything that happened over the weekend. I told a story. The one thing that did shock me over the weekend was Geno Smith. Geno. Oh, Geno getting traded to the Los Angeles Raiders. I did not see that coming, or excuse me, Las Vegas Raiders. I didn't see that coming. I did not see Geno Smith getting dealt. He played well last season. They tried to deal him last year. So I thought that was a byproduct of having a new coach come in and, not really, that was like remnants of Pete Carroll and what he wanted. And now John Schneider was having an opportunity to take over. He was getting an opportunity to kind of put his stamp on the organization. And Geno Smith might have been one of those guys that was somewhat of a casualty in that transition. So it made sense then. But then Geno proved his worth last year and gave them a chance to make the postseason. They just fell short, but it wasn't because of Geno Smith. And I just thought he played himself into a situation where they would be comfortable holding on to him until they had like a real replacement in hand. And the story goes that they were working on an extension with Geno. They were a little bit further apart than they would have liked. The Raiders swooped in and said, "Hey, if you don't want him, we'll take him and we'll give you a 3rd-round pick for him." And they're like, "Okay." And so the deal got done. Geno Smith is now a Vegas Raider, and I'd be lying to you if I said I was shocked, because we don't know where Seattle goes from here. That's the thing. It's not like, Sam Howell is definitely got next up. It'd be one thing if like they've been itching to get Sam Howell on the field. I don't think that's the case, And so we saw Sam Howell last year, and that may be unfair. In the couple of appearances we saw from him last year, he did not look comfortable. He did not look sharp. And again, small sample size. It's not fair to him when you get thrusted into action. You got no practice time during, but it doesn't matter. He didn't look good. You can't trade Geno Smith and move on from him and insert Sam Howell and be confident that you've upgraded the quarterback position. You just you're kidding me. So there has to be a plan in place, like Sam Darnold, and even Sam Darnold to me is not an upgrade over Geno Smith. I don't understand this move from the Seattle Seahawks perspective, but because even if you were going to trade Geno, okay, give me a 2, and I would have been like, okay, I get it. A 3, I'm not pressed for a 3rd-round pick. I'm not pressed. Geno Smith was worth, to me, and again, one of the things we get wrong as fans is trade compensation. What someone worth is what a team is willing to pay and what a team is willing to allow him to be moved for. And they allowed Geno Smith to be moved for a 3. If you want him that bad, give me a 2. Or else I'll hold on to him. And I get it. The contract negotiation wasn't going the way they wanted it to. But if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you don't have a chance. And if I'm not mistaken, Geno Smith led the NFL. I think, I could be wrong about this, but he led the NFL in completion percentage last year. And it wasn't just a bunch of dink and dunks. There was quite a few of them, don't get me wrong, but he was pushing the ball down the field. And so the Seahawks were definitely active this weekend, not only trading Geno Smith, but trading away DK Metcalf as well. Got a 2nd-round pick for him. So they're investing a lot into this year's draft. They feel like I'm assuming either they're trying to get in a position to be able to draft one of these quarterbacks, right? They're loading up all this ammunition so that they can move up in the draft and be able to take advantage of an opportunity should it, arise, or they really believe in the value of day 2 of this year's draft class, which is where the value is in this year's draft class. They've added 2 additional day 2 picks. They've avoided paying 2 guys that I don't know if they were comfortable paying them the number that would have satisfied those 2 players. We saw the deal that DK Metcalf got in Pittsburgh. We'll talk about that situation here in a second. But a lot has transpired. A lot of things are taking place. And so we'll see. I'm just checking to make sure that nothing else has happened in the time frame that we've been just discussing the Seahawks. Nothing has happened. So at the end of the day, Seattle is definitely turning the page on the offense that we've come accustomed to them being and looking like. No more Geno Smith, no more DK Metcalf. Jackson Smith and Jigba's their new number 1 receiver. No more Tyler Lockett. They moved on from him as well, cut ties with him. So this is going to be a totally different offense. I think they're going to be more run-oriented. So expect the running backs to really carry the load there, whomever the quarterback may be. It doesn't really matter at this point. Even if it's Aaron Rodgers, I think they're going to rely heavily on the run game. But they've got some, some drafting and some signing to do and some things to really upgrade their roster. It's going to be really interesting to see what they decide to do, because they went from a veteran team to extremely potentially young overnight, especially if they're going to go the way of the draft. And I'm anxious to see if all this draft capital that they're stockpiling is for a trade up, or is it for them to actually start stockpiling young talented players onto their roster and just kind of turning the page and just going young and taking their lumps in the process of doing that. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do, which takes us and transitions us right into the DK Metcalf trade itself. That was somewhat of a bombshell. Like, not that he got traded. I thought it was going to happen. I wasn't shocked that he got traded. It was where he got traded. You really didn't hear the Steelers as a place that he was going to get dealt. That didn't feel like somewhere that he was going to end up. And then the subsequent extension was massive. 5 years, $150 million for DK Metcalf. Again, those numbers are always inflated. We'll see what the guarantees are in that contract. My guess is it's probably a 3-year deal. Those final 2 years aren't worth the the paper that it's written on. And so it's a lot of money, though, for DK, which he's going to have to go out and play a little bit better than, he had been playing here of late. Last year was not a great year for DK, and he really wasn't injured. He just didn't have a great year. And some of that could probably be the quarterback situation. They had issues with their offensive coordinator, which is why they fired their offensive coordinator and have a new one in-house now. There could have been a number of reasons why he wasn't getting targeted the way he had in the past. But all in all, the Steelers, they need a reliable number 1. I think George Pickens has one potential, but he's so inconsistent. Again, he's a head case. I think this is a good move for them. And I've been talking about them getting Roman Wilson back, the guy they drafted in the second round last year out of Michigan. And so when you look at the receiving core now, all of a sudden you go from, it's all right, it really doesn't move me, to, whoa, if Roman Wilson is what we think he can be as a third option, with Pat Freiermuth, and they're going to draft a first-round running back. My guess is going to be Omarion Hampton. That's my guess, that he'll end up being a Pittsburgh Steeler. If not him, Caleb Johnson, someone of that ilk. And then you look at that, they've tendered Jaylen Warren on a second-round tender. He's not going anywhere. I told you they weren't going to allow him to go anywhere. So you add in that feature back. You now have a true trio of really good young receivers, and a really good tight end. The Steelers, if they can find a way to fortify that offensive line, they could be someone to reckon with. And again, obviously, the big question in Pittsburgh is what the hell are they going to do at quarterback? And so that remains to be seen. But they can figure that position out. There's enough weaponry surrounding that quarterback for the Steelers to be successful in a loaded AFC, as we all know. So that was a surprising move, though. Steelers being aggressive there, and I like it. I like it a lot. Harold Landry was released by the Titans. He then made a beeline to the place where he played college football. He went to Boston College. And so it makes a ton of sense that he stays in the state of Massachusetts and ends up playing for the New England Patriots. And it's a really, really good get for the Patriots, a team that, again, I think it was the worst roster in football. You know, from a talent perspective, I don't think you could find a worse roster in football than the New England Patriots. So for them to get a guy like Harold Landry, to then go get Carlton Davis, you're seeing what they're out here trying to do. They're trying to build this thing from the ground up. They're going to need a bit of a boost, right? And so you do that by going out and getting a couple of veteran players that have established themselves as good football players that still have prime football years left in them, and you bring them into the fold. And that's what they've done in getting, you know, Carlton Davis, as we mentioned already, on that 3-year, $60 million deal, and also getting Harold Landry over the weekend. And so Khalil Mack was another one. I think we didn't mention him. He's back with the Chargers. That was to be expected. I think a 1-year, $18 million deal, fully guaranteed. Makes a ton of sense. I expected that. And I'd said as much that I expected them to find a way to get him back, especially with Bosa being let go. They couldn't afford to not bring back one of those guys. And their GM, Horowitz, had already said that they were looking to bring back Khalil Mack, and they were going to do everything they could to make sure that that got done. And when GMs say things definitively in that manner, I generally listen to them, right? You know, when they're kind of non-committal, hey, we'll see how things play out, that kind of is their way of saying, nah, we're good, without, you know, demeaning the player or dismissing them, or, you know, I don't want to rule anything out. We'll see what happens. That's GM speak for, yeah, we're good, right? When a GM says, no, we want this guy back, because they don't have to say that. That's when you know it's they're gonna find a way to make it happen, and they did with Khalil Mack. He's back in LA, and I knew that's where he wanted to be ultimately when it's all said and done. So they get that done. So another edge rusher off the market, which again, none of the free agency markets were all that robust to begin with. Okay, all of them have their flaws. Some are thinner than others. Some have a lot more players available, but only in name, but not necessarily in productivity at this stage of their careers. Like, there's a ton of edge rushers. They're just all old, right? Like there's a bunch of guys, DeMarcus Lawrence, Von Miller, Darius Smith, but they're all 30 years of age or older, right? So, you know, that doesn't make you feel confident that they're going to be able to come in here and produce for your team, right? So there's a lot of guys available. Keenan Allen's still out there. DeAndre Hopkins is out there, but they're old, right? Like, their best football is probably behind them. Not probably, especially in the case of a DeAndre Hopkins. His best football is clearly behind him, but he can still produce if you put him in the right, you know, position to succeed. He can still do so, but they're no longer at the stage of their careers where it doesn't matter where you put them, they're going to succeed. Now they need to find the right home, the right situation for this stage of their career. So you're seeing a lot of the younger players and the guys that are either heading into their prime or at their prime. You're starting to see a lot of these guys come off the board rather quickly, which is what you expect from a lot of these teams. So let's talk about some of the things that we're gonna kind of be looking to see transpire, and then we'll get to the comment section here in a second as we see if anything else kind of develops over the next kind of 15 to 20 minutes. Still looking on the quarterback situation. No quarterback has signed anywhere yet. So normally you wait for that first domino to fall, and that's Sam Darnold. I think he controls everything here. Where he lands first is then going to set off a chain reaction. And once that takes place, then you're going to start to see everybody else kind of fall in place. So I think Darnold's signing, which we think it's going to be Seattle right now, is the key, I think, to unlocking where these quarterbacks ultimately end up. But you've got Sam Darnold, who hasn't made a decision yet. You got Aaron Rodgers, who's kind of waiting to see where the dust settles and the smoke clears. Russell Wilson, very intriguing because I really truly believe if Russell Wilson isn't back in Seattle or Pittsburgh with the Steelers, where does he go? Like, who wants Russell Wilson at this point of his career? That's like it. It feels like it's Pittsburgh or bust for Russell Wilson. That's what it feels like right now. But we'll see what happens there. Justin Fields, man, I got a really hot take with him. It's not gonna happen, but I'd love to see him end up in let's see. X seems to be working again. There we go. Back at it. All right, let's see if we can catch up on everything. I think we are pretty much caught up anyway. The Chiefs are signing Elijah Mitchell. Okay, so they're adding some running back depth, which they had poor depth at the running back position last year. We remember them having to hit the streets and go out there and sign Kareem Hunt, and they were hurting at running back. Remember they had the white dude, the white rookie that was like a fullback playing like really important snaps early in the season. It was bad. So Elijah Mitchell makes a ton of sense for them. Let's see. J.C. Horn. We didn't talk about this. J.C. Horn signs a 4-year, $100 million extension, makes him the highest paid cornerback in the NFL's history. Again, you know how this works. I didn't realize that what's the corner for the Dolphins? Jalen Ramsey. I didn't realize he was still the highest paid corner in the NFL. I just assumed somebody had already leapt him, right? But no, he was still the highest paid corner at like 24.1 million or something like that. So now J.C. Horn's 25 AAV will make him the highest paid corner in NFL history. Somebody will supersede that, here shortly, but good for J.C. Horn. That's how it goes in the NFL. Next up is the best up, and that's where he is now. So Panthers finally take care of one of their own. They've been notorious here of late for letting their talented guys walk and produce elsewhere. Grady Jarrett was released by the Atlanta Falcons. I think people saw that kind of coming. The Commanders did re-sign Tress Way to a 1-year contract. I was waiting on that. Like, what are we waiting on? I talked about that last night. Like, what are we doing? All right, just get this man signed up. Yeah, stop it. All right, let's cut this foolishness out. Get this man back under contract. Also, while we are on the subject matter, the Giants have reached an agreement with former Saints cornerback Paulson Adebo. That's a big signing for the New York Giants. They really were hurting bad in that secondary. He's a young, ascending player. Again, if he's healthy, that's a big signing for the New York Giants. For a group that's trying to save their jobs, they need guys to come in there and help them right now. So that is a big, big signing for the New York Giants. Terms of the deal are undisclosed at this moment. Morgan Moses is going to the New England Patriots. That makes a ton of sense. Again, they got a lot of building to do over there. 3 years, $28.5 million is what that deal can get up to. And, it's good to see a guy be able to get paid in this league that has shown the ability to just be available. Morgan Moses doesn't get hurt, period. And he may not always be the best, but he is above average in this league. And the one thing you can always count on, which you can't always say, especially at a position like offensive line, is he's on the field every week. He is available. The best ability is availability, and no one's been more durable and available over the life of their NFL careers than Morgan Moses. I don't know if he's ever missed an NFL game. I don't know if he's ever missed an NFL game in his career. And that's a testament to him just finding a way to stay healthy. So good for him getting a 3-year deal that can get up to $28.5 million. The Lions are signing former Jets defensive back DJ Reed to a 3-year deal worth $48 million. So 16 per for DJ Reed makes a ton of sense. They just lost Carlton Davis in free agency to the Patriots. They needed to replenish that position. I was interested to see where they're going to go the young route because they were already starting a rookie last year opposite of Carlton Davis. And they had drafted 2 rookies last year. We talked about Rickestraw being the other rookie that they drafted, but they decided to go out and get a veteran. I don't blame them, right? And so DJ Reed, now going to be a Detroit Lion, 3 years, $48 million. So as we continue to see these deals come in, we'll continue to talk about them and kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together. Let's talk about the Myles Garrett situation. We got more news here. Former Eagles cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, who was suspended due to gambling, got reinstated and played really well. They needed him. Their depth was tested at times last year. He stepped in, gave them quality snaps, reached a 2-year, $15 million contract with the Minnesota Vikings. The deal includes $8 million fully guaranteed. So I wonder if that means that they can't get on the same page with their corner. What is their corner name? Byron Murphy. I wonder if that means Byron Murphy isn't going to be back in Minnesota. I don't know if Isaiah Rodgers signing means that you can't bring back Byron Murphy, but it may mean that the money just wasn't making sense for them and they decided to move on from Byron Murphy. That's interesting. So Murphy may be available on the free agent market now. And we'll see. We'll see, right? As we see these pieces continuing to shuffle around in free agency, things continuing to heat up. So let's get to the Myles Garrett situation. Wow. Where do I begin there? I don't think a lot of people saw Myles Garrett going to the extension route with the Browns. It was a shocker for many. Not for me. I thought he was going to stay in Cleveland now. I did not expect him to sign an extension. I didn't. Because he made it so, he made this grandiose statement about how it wasn't about money. He wanted to win. And I didn't feel like you didn't have to lie to me, right? You didn't have to lie to us. Like, if it's about money, right, you don't have to come out and say it, but you don't have to be definitive that it's not about money, right? But maybe, and I'm now that I'm sitting here saying this out loud, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, maybe you do have to do it that way. Maybe you have to be definitive that I am going to retire, or excuse me, I want out. I do want to win, right? Maybe you do have to go that route to force their hand And to get to the ultimate, like, he's Myles Garrett. We're talking first ballot. Like, his GM said he's got a one-way ticket to Canton when his career is done. That's right up the street from where they play, right? In Cleveland. Like, he didn't have, I don't think he had to do this to get that, in my mind's eye, at least. But sometimes you got to force their hand, I guess. Either way, we'll never know if this was really about money or if that was just too good of a deal to pass up. Like, he really wanted out. He really wanted to go to a contender, and then they came at him with this ridiculous amount of money. He was like, wait, what? They want to pay me how much? Tell you what, let's reconsider this. You know, like, let's switch courses. Let's go back to Cleveland. So, you know, money talks. We've talked about that so many times. Money talks, but I don't know, man. I didn't see that coming, but there were so many people that were all in on Myles Garrett, you know, being traded for, and so many different teams were all in on Myles Garrett. Like, yeah, we got to go get Myles Garrett. And so there were a lot of NFL fans disappointed when he made that decision. I think it was more so, and there was a lot of outrage and shock and awe. You know, a lot of different fan bases. I think it was more so the sting of, oh, I want to win, and then it's not about money, and then it became about money. Again, you ain't have to lie to us, right? But whatever you got to do to get to the bag, man, I'm not mad. And he clearly got to the bag in a major way on his extension. So good for him. He's moved that number up at the edge rushing position. Crosby had moved it up. He moved it up even more so. And now the price for a Michael Parsons, the Trey Hendricksons of the world, those guys, those prices have gone up. Not that Trey Hendrickson is going to command top of the market money like those guys just did, but his price just went up. Michael Parsons, however, is in the conversation to get that kind of money, and that just got a lot more interesting, that negotiation. But again, that's not my problem. Not my problem at all. So let's get to the comment section. See what you guys are talking about. Thank you for the super chat. WWU. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, man, Lou, I don't see it with Kinlaw. I didn't like him coming out of South Carolina either, to be honest. Would have much rather spent on Williams. Well, it's not about what we like. It's about what they like. And I've said this already. Whether I agree with it or not, I'm riding. Like, here's the thing with Kinlaw, and I kind of already said this. They are projecting with him, just like they did last year with Dorrance Armstrong, right? Dorrance Armstrong was coming off the best season of his career in Dallas. They had familiarity with him. They go out, they give him a 3-year, $45 million deal or whatever it was last year. I think it was the same deal, 3 years, $45 million, right? Brought him on board. It's the same thing. The only difference is, the only reason that people are up in arms is because now, instead of us being a team that is just, trying to get their hands on as many guys as possible because we're starting this recalibration, we went to the NFC Championship game. They want names. They want guys that get them excited, that move the needle. That's not what this is about. This is about getting guys that they believe in, that they feel like is, and you might think this is an overpay. It's not an overpay if he is what he thinks that Javon Kinlaw can be, right? There's a reason Javon Kinlaw was a first-round pick. And he's starting to play to that level. He played the most snaps of his career last year. He played in the most games he's played in his NFL career. Started in all 17 games, and he produced the best numbers of his career. And they're saying He's just getting started, and we want in because we think this is the tip of the iceberg with this kid. I don't blame them. So, you don't have to love it. But again, you can't say out of one side of your mouth, and I'm not talking to you, WWU. I'm just talking in general. You can't say out of one side of your mouth, in Adam Peters we trust, and then as soon as he does something you don't like, he's the worst GM ever, right? Y'all got to stop that shit. Got to cut that shit out. So, so you want another undersized defensive tackle. That's what you want. On a team that can't stop the run. You don't want a 320-pound defensive tackle to plug up the middle because we can't stop the run. You want another 280, 290-pound defensive tackle who is undersized that gets pushed around. That's what you want. Just let me know. Is that what you're looking for? Y'all can't say you want to stop the run. They go get a 315, 320-pound defensive tackle, and now you tell me, no, I wanted the 290-pound guy. Come on, man. Make it make sense. This is why fans, sometimes I struggle with fans, because you say you want something, they give you what you say you want, and then you don't want it because it don't look like the thing that you wanted, right? The exact thing you wanted. Let's just see how it plays out. How about we do that? And if it doesn't work, then you can crucify him for it. He's not going to hit on every single thing that he does. Nobody does. No GM does. So let's see what happens, man. Rarely even. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Writes, Lou, I like the Hassan Reddick signing for my Bucs. Pretty low risk, high reward. Do you think he has good football left? I do. If he's back to the Hassan Reddick that he was prior to the whole fiasco last year with him wanting an extension, wanting new money, not getting it, getting traded, and then I guess he assumed, and I don't know if the Jets ever told him he was going to get, paid. But if my gripe with my last team was money, do you think I'm going to actually come to a new team and not be upset if you don't give me an extension? That's the whole point of why I wanted out of my last situation. So that went off the rails, and he, wasn't the player that we had seen. But, if you look at what he was prior to last year, he was a problem. And in big moments, he got to the quarterback. He was a closer of sorts. And so this is exactly, the Bucs can't get to the quarterback. I mean, the reason you lost to the Commanders last year was because in critical situations, you couldn't get to Jaden Daniels. So, yes, I do think this is a good move. Again, I didn't think he would command as much money, but you're paying him based off of what he's done and what you think he's going to do. And you're pretty much throwing last year out the window. That's why he's getting what he's getting. Now, I think the 1-year deal is more indicative of, hey, we don't trust you from the last year shit. And the money is more indicative of, but we know what you're capable of when you're locked in. So I think it's a mixture of both. This 1-year deal is $14 million, 12 of it guaranteed. We'll see what comes of it. If he plays really well, there may be a 3-year deal on the other side of this thing for him. So I do think he has good football left, and I do think it's a really good signing for your Bucs. Let's see. Okay, nothing else new has happened. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, this doesn't pigeonhole us to taking the pass rusher early. I like the move. Yeah, he signed a 1-year deal. So this should not stop you from doubling down and taking an edge rusher in the draft. So you're absolutely spot on. And even if he plays extremely well this year and you want him back, you still need a young guy on that defensive line as an edge rusher. Like Tryon Shoyinka did not work out, right? And it's okay. You swing and you miss sometimes in the first round. I'm living proof of that, right? We drafted Chase Young, number 2 overall. It didn't work, right? So I don't think this precludes you from drafting an edge rusher. Does not at all whatsoever. Nice 2020. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Nice 2020. Right. I know it's early, but we ain't doing much. Wonder if we're banking on the draft. Littler nervous. Hopefully we get Trey. Again, I tried to warn you guys of this. I always try to be a voice of reason for y'all because sometimes the expectations that you guys have are unrealistic. And I told you, I said, this is going to look a lot like last year. We weren't super aggressive early in free agency. You saw the guys we signed last year, right? We signed like 30 guys last year. Most of them were second wave transactions, right? The Jeremy McNichols, the Pierre, the James Pierres, and the Michael Davises, and I mean, there were signings that we didn't even know of that weren't even reported. We saw the guy talking after he had signed his deal. That's how we knew Michael Davis got signed. Like, that's where we're going to shop again. There are going to be some more signings. There'll be some more guys that they sign, and they may trade for Trey Hendrickson, but they may not. And you have to be okay with that. But they're going to sign a bunch of guys. Trust me. But it might not be the guys that you were hoping for. And I told you guys, don't get your head wrapped around a lot of these big names. Don't do it. So, like, you shouldn't be nervous. What are you nervous about? We literally are an hour and 52 minutes into the tampering period. Why are you nervous? Are nice. I need an explanation from you. Why are you nervous? For what? You don't think this roster is going to be better than it was last year? We went to the NFC Championship game last year. You don't think it's going to be better than it was last year? You don't trust our general manager to put a better product on the field than they did last year? If the answer is no, then you don't trust Adam Peters at all. Rarely even. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, at worst, Hassan Reddick will be a competent situational pass rusher. At best, he can probably get us 8 to 11 sacks. Absolutely. Like when we signed Dante Fowler, now we signed him for a lot less than you just spent on Hassan Reddick. But when we signed him last year, we saw him as a situational pass rusher. You know what Dante Fowler Jr. did for us last year? He got us 11 sacks last season. He's not as good as Hassan Reddick has been over the last 5 years. Not even close. So at best, as a situational pass rusher, he's going to get you anywhere in that 8 to 11 range. That's not at best. That's what you're probably getting if he's back to the Hassan Reddick that we saw before last year. If he's back to the guy that's motivated, that's in shape, that's ready to rock and roll, you're getting 8 to 11 sacks just off of who he is. Now, if he is at his best, then you could be looking at 13 sacks, 14 sacks. So, you know, you could essentially be getting what you once had in Shaq Barrett back here in Hassan Reddick. That's essentially what you could be getting if he's back to being who he once was. And that's not a stretch. It's not a stretch. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, Dan Moore is completely ass juice and Tennessee just gave him $82 million. That is the definition of free agency right there. When there's not a lot of options, guys get. That's why I said I don't want any parts of Josh Sweat. It's not a great edge rusher market. Someone's going to overpay for Josh Sweat. I don't want to be the team that does. All right, let somebody else do that. Somebody was going to overpay Dan Moore, the Tennessee Titans. They suck ass. So guess what you have to do to get guys to come to Tennessee? Because if I have options that are close in financial, in monetary figures, right? If we're talking within $2-3 million of each other, I'm not choosing the Tennessee Titans. So you got to blow me out of the water with your deal. That's what they did. That's what we used to have to do here in Washington. If you wanted someone to sign with you, you had to go above and beyond the Call of Duty. You had to outbid yourself and go above market value by 5 to 10% just to get someone to sign with you. I would call Dan Moore ass juice, but he's not worth 4 years, $82 million. That's for damn sure. Okay. But that was the market, right? There's nothing available. Ronnie Stanley got snatched off. We saw most of the teams say, hey, no, let's hold on to our stuff. So this is what you were left with. Cam Robinson, I would have been a better option, but he's not as young as Dan Moore. So anyway, I digress. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, we keep our whole offensive line intact. We re-sign Godwin, David, and add Reddick. Jason Light continues to show that he's one of the league's elite GMs. At one point, he was on the verge of getting fired. Can you believe that? If Tom Brady doesn't come in and save the day, he was going to get fired. It was literally the Tom Brady season that saved his ass. And then from there, it's like that gave him confidence again. And he's been really good since then. Even the Baker Mayfield deal was extraordinary. He bought low on a guy that had a lot of potential, was the former #1 overall pick, and it proved to be a massive deal. Like, it wasn't a big roll of the dice, but the reward was going to be great if it paid off, and that's exactly what happened. So, but let's be honest, Ree, who didn't think you were getting Lavonte David and Chris Godwin back? Who didn't think that was happening? Those are Bucs, man. Lavonte David is a lifetime Buck. He's not going anywhere. And Chris Godwin, I kind of feel the same way I feel about Mike Evans. He's not going anywhere. You knew it. I knew it. We all knew it. Hassan Reddick, it's a good move. We'll see if it pays off. But like, none of the moves that were made were like, oh my God, wow. Look at, like, if you're a Bucs fan, you just feel good that he continues to do smart things and make shrewd moves that make sense for your organization. None of these are like earth-shattering moves, though. We expected Godwin and David to be back. You guys have taken care of your players in that way. So that was not a shocker to me. I expected that. Reddick, I like the signing, though. I like that one a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Ree, writes, the word is the Bucs think Reddick is still an elite pass rusher who wants to prove it. He had a down year, but was a steady double-digit sack getter before last year. We'll see. That's how I feel. And I totally agree with your organization. You know, you're getting Hassan Reddick, who is not like super old. It's not like he's one of these 33-year-old pass rushers. I think he's 30 years old. So you're getting this guy who has an axe to grind with the NFL, right? The whole league pretty much said, oh, you're good, right? But you're not great, and we're not going to pay you. So now he's out to prove that not only should he get paid, but I'm really looking to cash in next year. So in order for that to happen, he's going to have to go out and ball. So I love the move by the Bucs organization, because I'm banking on the same thing with Deebo Samuel, right? We traded for him, 1-year deal. Everybody's calling him fat, out of shape. He's washed. Same thing's being said about Hassan Reddick. He's washed. He's this. He's that. He doesn't deserve to be paid. You're going to get a motivated Hassan Reddick this year is what you're going to get as a byproduct of all of that. You're going to get a motivated Hassan Reddick who knows that there's one final big payday, and in order to get that, he's going to have to perform at that level this year, right? So, let's see. One Eye Guy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. One Eye Guy writes, left tackle for 2025. So this is the offensive line that he would put together. Cornelius Lucas at left tackle, which we know isn't going to happen. Right? They've had ample opportunities to start Cornelius Lucas at either left or right tackle and refuse to do so. So they're not going to all of a sudden at age 33 or wherever Cole Luke is going to decide, yeah, he's our starting left tackle now. So that's not going to happen. But Lucas at left tackle, Coleman at left guard, Biotish at center, Cosme at right guard, and Mo at right tackle. So I'll tell you right now, Cornelius Lucas isn't starting at left tackle. And that right tackle is probably going to be Andrew Wiley still, is my guess. We'll see what happens. And left tackle is probably still going to be Brandon Coleman. That's my guess. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But that's my guess. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, apparently, my Bucs are smitten with Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall. No idea why, though. He's long gone by the time we pick at 19. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure he's gone at 19, my friend. He's got a little bit of some off the field concerns. He is slightly undersized. Yeah, he blew up the Senior Bowl, and the traits are absolutely there. But he's a first round pick. Don't get it twisted. But I'm not sure he's gone at 19. Like, we'll see how the quarterbacks go. We assume they're just going to be two of those that come off the board. You're going to see a plethora of defensive linemen come off the board. I think you're going to see maybe one or two corners, probably one more so. The wild card in all of this, offensive tackles always come off, so you're going to see that happen as well. The wild card in all of this are the wide receivers. If you can get 2 or 3 to go off the board before your pick, he'll be there at 19, right? If the receivers get pushed back a little bit, which I could see happening, then your guy could be gone, right? And then you could even see a situation where 1 or 2 running backs come off the board before your pick. So I think you're overrating where Mike Green is going to be selected in this year's draft. We'll see. I mean, hell, everybody thought Dallas Turner was this ridiculous freak coming out last year. And where did he go? 11? Wait. We didn't have an edge rusher. We didn't have a defensive player taken until the Colts took Latu. And what was that, 15? So Dallas Turner, am I tripping? Was he last year's draft? I feel like he was last year's draft. Where did he go? To Minnesota? It had to be in the 20s or something like that. So I said all that to say this. Obviously, last year was unique because we had 6 quarterbacks go in the first 12 picks. That's not happening this year. So, but there will be 2 quarterbacks taken. There will be 2 or 3 offensive linemen taken. There will be 3 or 4 defensive tackles taken. This is all before 19 I'm talking about. There will be 1 or 2 corners taken, right? So I think Mike Green is going to be there at 19. I could be wrong, but I think he'll be there at 19. We'll see. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, this legal tampering period is a bunch of bullshit. They've been tampering for the better part of a week, if not longer. Of course. I mean, again, they just did this because at one point, looks like Twitter might be back down again. At one point, Twitter's down again. At one point, free agency, and I talked about this. I think I talked about this on the podcast a week or 2 ago. But free agency used to start on a Wednesday at 4:00 p.m. And there's no way in hell, right, if you're not tampering, are you able to then say, all right, free agency starts at 4:00 and deals are done at 4:01 or 4:00, 4 p.m. 30 seconds, 4:01, 4:02 deals are coming in. Rapid fire, right? Guys are signing 5 years, $63 million deals at 4:01. There's no way if tampering wasn't already taking place. So they made it legal now to just be able to say, all right, the discussions have already been happening prior to, because they were happening anyway, and the league didn't want to have to step in, right? But all they did, and I said this already, all they did was move back the cheating process. So because these conversations used to take place 2-3 days in advance, they moved the tampering window, opened up this tampering window. Now the conversations are happening 2-3 days in advance of the tampering window. And we all know these conversations really start at the combine, right? Everybody's there. Every GM, all the scouts are there. You know, you got some team presidents, you got some owners. Jerry Jones was there, right? Every agent known to mankind is there. So what do you think is going on at these combines other than, outside of what they're there for, which are these, prospective college athletes that are looking to become NFL athletes, we know what's taking place. Trades are being talked about. New deals are being talked about. Prospective free agents that are on the cusp of getting to free agency, those deals are being talked about. Of course. So yes, this legal tampering period is bullshit, but it covers the NFL's basis, essentially. Now there's a legal tampering period. But again, it's the same premise. If discussions like how do you get a 4-year, $82 million deal for Dan Moore 2 minutes into free agency tampering window if you weren't already negotiating that prior to the tampering period, right? There's no way his agent calls up the Titans, 4 years, $82 million, 50 of it guaranteed. They go, yes, and it's done, right? It's not how deals work. So, of course, it's bullshit. Absolutely, it is. But I digress. Let's get to Ree. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, Lou, we had 47 sacks last year. We can just get, he said, we can get sacks. We just don't have an elite edge rush. Well, there's a difference between getting sacks and when you get sacks, right? 47 is a good number. That's a good number to have in this league. But if you can't get sacks when you like, a lot of your sacks came from, blitzing or your interior guys. Like you don't have a consistent edge presence, like you just said. When you needed guys to step up, like you can't ask Nelson to win one-on-one and get to the quarterback, which is what you're referring to, right? Kalijah Kancey is a problem, right? He's an absolute problem. When he's healthy, he's a difference maker. Vita Vea is a problem, right? Your interior is awesome. The problem is you don't have anybody off the edge that can win consistently. And so this is why you bring in a guy like Hassan Reddick, because you don't want to have to blitz. And you want to be able to, like the Eagles showed you the blueprint. Like you want to, like every team wants to do that. It's hard to do that. You want to rush 4. You have the potential to do that if you could get some edge rushers. Because of Kalijah Kancey and Vita Vea, you can rush 4 and get pressure, collapse the pocket, get instant interior pressure. And if you got somebody off the edge that's right there to clean up the mess, you're in business. I can tell you Anthony Nelson isn't that guy. So, yeah, it's when you get those sacks. On third down is when you need it, right? In the fourth quarter of a ball game that's close, that's when you need it. And that's not always your forte. So this should help a lot. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy JP writes, not free agency related, but I have to ask, doesn't it feel like the jobs of some of these coaches and GMs are on the line in 2025? Yeah, absolutely. The 2 hottest GM seats for me are Colts GM Chris Ballard and Giants GM Joe Schoen. Like they go into the season having to win right now, or else they're probably fired, right? Head coach, there's some interesting ones. I'm not sure if there are any seats hotter than the 2 GMs I just mentioned and from a coaching perspective. But like last year, we knew of some coaches like if Doug Peterson don't win, we knew he was fired, right? If the Bears coach going into the season, we knew if he didn't win, he was fired, right? We knew if things went off the rails in New Orleans, more than likely Dennis Allen was going to get fired, right? We knew of coaching staffs and coaches that were in jeopardy going into the season last year. We're like hell, if the Eagles didn't win, if the Eagles had gotten off to a rough start, and they started off kind of rough, there were people talking about Nick Sirianni potentially. Remember, he almost got fired last offseason. So, you know, there were some coaches on the hot seat last year. I don't necessarily know. Like the Titans, it kind of feels like, you know, their coach could be, you know, like Brian Callahan could be on the hot seat if things don't go well. It doesn't seem like they're going to have a ton of patience with him. It feels like Daboll could be in some trouble if they get off to a rough start in New York with the Giants. But that might just be an end of the season thing too, right? Just depends on how it goes. Another guy that I think he's going to have to, you know, coach well this year. I had him trying to think of Shane Steichen in Indy, right? So, I mean, obviously, if the GM's in trouble, the head coach is probably in trouble too, right? Shane Steichen feels, and I hate it for him because I think he's actually a good coach, and he's just got a raw deal because they haven't selected the right quarterback. So that's another spot where you feel like could get a little dicey there if things don't, you know. Cincinnati, right? I don't foresee them firing Zach Taylor in season, but he feels like a guy that needs to win this year in order to secure his job. Again, another guy I hate it for, Kevin Stefanski. This is a guy that won Coach of the Year twice in the last 4 years. What are we even talking about? But again, you know, he didn't win the Super Bowl. We just won Coach of the Year, and he can get touched. So it's some coaches where you're like, hey man, you gotta show me something, or else ... So, how hot are those seats? We'll see, but I don't think it's ridiculously hot. So, all right. So we got some new moves. All right. The Patriots have signed Milton Williams. And it's a massive deal. The numbers aren't quite out yet, but it's $26 million per year. You see what I'm saying? Like, people are complaining about getting Javon Kinlaw. That was $15 million. What are you complaining about? This man is getting $26 million a year. Are you stupid? Milton Williams is good. He ain't $26 million a year good. Okay? He's really good. He ain't that damn good. Okay? So this is what the market looks like. When you're out here in free agency, shit gets wild. Okay? So, and when you're the Patriots and you suck and you got a bunch of money, this is what it looks like, right? Yikes. That's a lot of bread. Trayvon Muehrcke is signing a 3-year, $51 million deal that can get up to $60 million with the Carolina Panthers. So good for Trayvon Muehrcke, a really good football player on a team that I think is ascending. I think the Panthers are an ascending team in the National Football League. And I like the moves that they've made thus far in free agency. So another really solid signing for the Cowboys. Have made a move. They've signed a long snapper. Trent Sieg has reached a 3-year, $4.45 million deal with the Dallas Cowboys. Go Cowboys. Yeah, long snapper. All right. I kid. But long snappers are important, and they're people too. Okay? They're people too. So Milton Williams going to the Patriots, massive deal. Remember, we heard that the Panthers were closing in on him, and then the Patriots swooped in and paid an inordinate amount. Again, we don't have the particulars. We'll see what that money actually looks like in aggregate. If it's a 3-year deal, if it's a 4-year deal, if it's a 5-year deal, we'll see what that actually looks like. But 26 per year is crazy work for Milton Williams. But we see this every time, right? When you win the Super Bowl, guys get overpaid. Every year it happens. I've been doing this for over a decade, and that is as old as any, and it is as old a story as you will find in the NFL. Guys getting overpaid after winning the Super Bowl as free agents. So good for him. We'll see what those numbers actually look like here in a bit as more information comes out. But 26 a year is crazy. Okay. Our guy that we just signed, his guarantee is 30 million total. This guy's getting $26 million a year. And people are complaining? Man, tough crowd. Tough crowd. One Eye Guy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. One Eye Guy says, call me crazy, Lou, but I want Jaden Higgins at 29. I think it's too early for Jaden Higgins at 29. It's too early. You might, I don't think he'll be, but you might be able to get him at 61. Like, just hold your water and just see what, like, the thing is, you don't want to overdraft a guy if you don't have to. And the difference between Higgins and some of these other receivers, yeah, he's tall and he's fast and you want size and all of that stuff. But is there a big enough gap between him and the other guys that you say, I have to take him now? And I don't know if the answer is yes. So we'll see. We'll see. I think that's a bit early for him, though. But we'll see, right? Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, Lou, did you know a lot about Bucky Irvin?
The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead.
My bad. Let me move that off the screen so that can't happen again. My fault. No, I did not. Hold on, excuse me. You said, matter of fact, let me just get out. No, I want to stay here so I can see it on my screen. He said, did I know a lot about Bucky Irvin before the draft last year? And did you think he could possibly be as good as he was for you guys? Yes, I did know about Bucky Irvin. And yes, I did think he would. See, what happened, and this happens quite often, is that we're in an environment now. We're in a day and age where we become mesmerized by speed. Like the combine, the best part of the combine is dudes running the 40. That's a track that is turned into a track event. You know, we show up for the 40 times. The most important thing that they do is the 40s and the verts and all that stuff, which is why guys show up, they do the medicals, they do the interviews, and then they run their 40 and they don't do shit else. Because that's the most important thing, right? Whereas if you're a junkie like me, I want to see the field work. I want to see how they move. I want to see how they catch the football. I'm looking at all of those things. And I'm pretty sure that's what evaluators are looking at too. But we've become a society that is so big on speed that we allow that to cloud our judgment on how quality a football player is. If you don't run, like, I know for me, I can't speak for anybody else. There's certain situations that you go into where you go, hey, if he can't run, I can't do anything with it because of what we're looking for, right? Like I've been so devoid of speed at the running back position as a Commanders fan for so long that you can't convince me of a 4 or 5 back being what I need. I'm sorry, I can't. I don't want to hear it, right? He better be able to run a 4.4 something because I just can't take it anymore, right? Bucky Irvin's stock took a critical hit last year when he ran a 4.5 whatever. I think he ran like a 4.58, 4.56, something like that last year. And people were like, oh my God, he's slow. And I'm like, but did you watch him? He plays faster than that. And he's quick as shit. And he's so agile that he's going to make guys miss. He's a problem. And people that watched him knew it. Like most Commanders fans wanted Bucky Irvin last year. We all would have taken Bucky Irvin in a heartbeat last season. But that speed, it scared people because he's undersized. He's a smaller back. So if you can't run, then the value just isn't there. And he's a good football player. And sometimes we get caught up in speed and lose sight. Like he shouldn't. I think he was a 5th round pick, right? He shouldn't have fallen to the 5th round. He was a better player than that. He should have been a day 2 pick. He should have been a 3rd round pick. That's what I had him graded as, a 3rd round pick. And because he ran slow, that knocked him down people's boards. And that happens, right? We see good players fall between the NFL cracks all the time because they didn't test well. We see it all the time. And another Oregon player may find himself in that position. Tez Johnson tested poorly at the combine. He ran the slowest 40 that you could have run at his size. And that if he doesn't clean that up at his pro day, it's going to murder his draft stock. He may be undraftable if he can't clean up the 40 time. All right? Because you can't be 150 pounds and run a 4.5. Like, but he plays faster than that. Anybody that watched Tez Johnson knows he plays faster than 4.5. He should have. We thought he was going to run 4.3, and he runs a 4.5. That's what happened to Bucky Irvin last year. So, yeah, I thought he could be really good. Did I think he was going to be as good? No, I didn't think he would be that good for you guys, but I thought he'd be really good for you guys. He was outstanding to the point where he took over as the lead back for you guys, and it wasn't close. Yeah, he was outstanding. He was outstanding. Nice 2020. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. And I appreciate you coming back because I asked you, you know, let's see. So the Patriots so far, before I get to you, nice. Patriots, Milton Williams, 26 years, 26 million per year. The years have yet to be determined. Sam Darnold, first domino has dropped. Sam Darnold is going to the Seahawks. Figured that would happen, right? Figured he was going to Seattle. And let me check something out real quick. Figured he was going there. And he did. And so that first domino has dropped. And now I think you're going to start to see these quarterbacks kind of fall into place, right? 3-year, $110.5 million contract, $55 million guaranteed. So let's do the math. 3 years, 100 would be 33. So 36 roughly, 36 million per year roughly for Sam Darnold on this 3-year contract. We'll see. We knew that's what I told you. They had a plan, and I said it was Sam Darnold. I told you that it had to be Sam Darnold. Like, there's no way you trade Geno Smith and you don't have a plan already in place. It didn't make sense because people are like, it's Sam Howell, NHL back in the film. I'm like, no, those hats aren't coming back. Trust me. He scared them to death with the way he played last year when he came into the game. There's no way they're hitching their wagon to Sam Howell after what he showed them last year. No way. And again, you don't think Adam Peters is a magician? What we got for Sam Howell last year? Okay. All right. Sure, you're right. So back to the Patriots signing so far. Milton Williams for 26 million per. We'll see what the years look like. Harold Landry, 3 years, 43 million, 43.5 million. Oh, I didn't see this one. Robert Spillane. Y'all know how I feel about Robert Spillane. I talked about him being one of my most underrated free agents available. Raiders are dumb for letting him leave. 3 years, $37.5 million. I love Robert Spillane. Love him. Carlton Davis, 3 years, $60 million. So the Patriots are spending money. This is what you got it for, right? And then I've already said they were one of the worst rosters in football. This is how you see what they're focusing on, right? That's all. I just mentioned all defensive players, right? So what they're going to do is probably take their draft resources, spend them on the offensive side. But in order to get this thing turned around fast, you need to get veterans on defense. He's going to come in there. Rabel is. They're going to play top-notch defense, keep the score low, and give themselves a chance to win while they figure out how the hell this thing's going to go with their young quarterback. It's a great formula for success. I like the way that they're going right now. Patriots are doing some things that I really like right now. Really, really, really believe that they are. Okay. All right. So, nice 2020, you wrote, I am nervous due to Parity schedule And all those close games we won, they can go the other way if we don't improve our roster. We can go from 12 to 8 or 9 wins. But that's the nature of the NFL every year. How many wins did the Chiefs have this year? How many of them were close games? We watched them and said, oh my God, what kind of what kind of luck, what kind of magic do the Chiefs have, right? But they win these games every year. If you got one of those quarterbacks, you win those close games every year. That's the difference. That's why we talk about this is a quarterback-driven league, because you're going to play close games in the NFL. You can't run from that. You're going to play close games. And the teams that win those close games are the ones with the better quarterback. We have one of those quarterbacks. So I don't worry about that. We didn't win those games because we got defensive stops last year. We won those games because we got Jaden Daniels at quarterback. Yes, those games could go either way. That's the nature of the league. That's why it is parity. But guess what? You limit how much you're affected by that parity by having the quality of quarterback that we have. That's why the Josh Allens and the Joe Burrows and the Lamar Jacksons and the Patrick Mahomes of the world, that's why those teams are in the playoffs every year. Because when you get into that close game, you know you got a guy that you can lean on that's going to get it done for you. So I'm not too concerned about that. So I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked you the first time. Do you think our roster is going to be better than it was last year or not? It's a simple question. Do you think the roster is going to be better than it was last year? Yes or no? If your answer is no or I don't know, okay. I don't know how you could think the roster is going to be any worse than it was last year. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. So just off of getting Deebo Samuel, we're already better on offense because you've already brought back Zach Ertz. You think the receiver core could be any worse than it was last year? Even if they just brought back the rest of the guys and you got Deebo Samuel, we're already better at receiver. The tight end group is exactly the same. You know we're going to upgrade running back. Like, you're already better on offense. And we're not done, but you're already better. Defensively, there's a lot of things that have to happen. They're going to happen, right? Cornerback market hasn't been really touched yet. You know, we weren't after DJ Moore, and I didn't think we were going after. The guys that we're going after are still there. Still there. So I'm not worried yet. I'm not worried. Neither should you. Neither should you. Sam Darnold is being reunited with his former offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, who he worked with in San Francisco, which is where he kind of got his swagger back in San Francisco. So makes a ton of sense. Makes a ton of sense. So don't worry. Don't worry. Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, Milton Williams actually goes to the Pats. Trayvon Muehrcke goes to Carolina. Yeah, because they remember, and this is why this tampering thing is tricky. And none of these deals are official, by the way. Like, it is the tampering window. Nothing becomes official until Wednesday. So guys can change their minds still. Nothing's been signed. But more likely than not, once this stuff gets reported, you have a deal in place. And usually guys aren't going to go back and renege on that. But you just never know, right? Because he was close to signing with the Panthers initially. Then the Patriots swooped in and said, oh, whoa, hold on. I got an extra 15 mil for you. And they were like, the Panthers were like, shit, you can have him then. 26? 26 per? Okay, yeah, he yours. I was thinking more along the lines of 4 years. And that's an extra 16 mil, right? Like they was like, yeah, we were thinking 22 mil a year. And they're like, nah, we thinking 26. Well, shit, that's if you go over 4 years, that's $16 million extra. Yeah, you go ahead and take him, man. He's all yours. I ain't got nothing for you. I ain't got nothing for you. And Trayvon Muehrcke goes to Carolina. And like I said, I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing. I like what the Panthers are doing right now. We'll see if it continues. One Eye Guy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. One Eye Guy writes, you forgot Chris Greer, Mike Daniels hot seats. Chris Greer. So here's the thing. They've gone to the playoffs every year. This is the first year and they barely missed the playoffs this year. It's the first year they missed the playoffs. And we saw what happened to them at the quarterback position, or else they're in the playoffs this year, are the Dolphins. So it's hard for me to say that he's on the hot seat. But the losing in the first round of the playoffs and not being able to get out of the first round, that's something to keep an eye on, because at some point Stephen Ross might get tired of that shit. But I don't see him being on the hot seat. Now, a guy that I did not mention that I need to mention is the Bears GM, which is why he's going crazy out here, trading for everybody, fortifying his offensive line, because remember, he was on the hot seat. Ryan Poles. Like, they had to actually put out a statement saying, nah, we gonna ride with Ryan Poles. He's gonna be back, and he's gonna be part of the process of us finding a new head coach, which they did, and all that good stuff. So he's also on the hot seat from a GM perspective as well. Don't want to forget about him. All right. Okay, so everybody's kind of reporting on the Sam Darnold stuff. So Geno Smith turned down a similar deal in Seattle. That's why they traded him. That's what Ian Rappaport is reporting. So that 3-year, $110 million, Geno was like, that's the last time. Yeah, I let y'all slide on 3 for $75. I was cool with that the last time. I'm better than that now. Pay me. And like, who doesn't think Geno Smith is better than Sam Darnold, right? So Geno's like, my money shouldn't look like his money. And they didn't agree with that. So they said, all right, bet. They did what record labels do, right? If you don't want this startup kit, you don't want this package, right? Then we'll get rid of your ass and we'll get some other dude in and we'll give him the same starter kit. Same producers, same album, same single. You're out, he's in, and we're going to ride with that then, since you don't want to do it. That's what they just essentially did to Geno Smith. Oh, you don't want this package right here? It's 3 years, $110 million, 55 guarantee. You don't want that? All right, you out, 3rd round pick. We'll get a guy that will take the 3 years, $110 million. It's a cold, cold world, man. It's a cold, cold world. Geno's going to get more than that with the Raiders, though. So it'll work out for him, too. It'll work out for him, too. Black Al B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Black Al B, writes, yo, Lou, 'tis the free agent season and all that, LOL. Yes, it is. Jonathan Allen visiting today. Meh, LOL. Hey, good luck, man. That's all I got for you. Good luck. He can still play football, okay? And in your scheme, he might end up being a terror. He might come in there and be a beast for you. I'm not telling you he's washed, right? I'm just telling you, for what we were doing, he wasn't as productive. You got a totally different scheme. You guys are aggressive. He might thrive and flourish in your scheme. So if you sign him, don't be upset. He's a good football player. He's a good locker room guy. He's a leader. He's going to become one of your favorites very quickly off the field. Now, we'll see if the production matches on the field or not. So see what you guys do there. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, guys don't renege on deals. Liam Cohen says hi. The snake in the grass bastard. Yeah, but see, y'all didn't have a deal in place. Y'all had an agreement. It's a difference, right? Y'all said, hey, we'll make you the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league, but you can't interview with Jacksonville again. And he was like, all right, bet. That was when he did not think they were going to move on from their previous GM that nobody wanted to work with, including Liam Cohen. He's like, if he's around, I can't take your job. He's a sieve. And so when he interviewed the first time, he was there. Once Khan realized, oh shit, he is the common denominator. He is the common thread as to why nobody wants our job. They got rid of him. And once they got rid of him, he was like, all right. And then he's like, I mean, that's cool and all, but I already told Tampa. Then they threw a number. It's the same thing that the Browns did to Myles Garrett. He was like, but I already told Tampa. And then he was like, well, we're going to make you one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL. He was like, oh, okay. Well, I think I could be out in Jacksonville first thing in the morning. It was like, cool, we'll see you then. And that's when he stopped answering you guys' calls. Yeah, I mean, you can't blame him, right? This time last year, nobody knew who Liam Cohen was. This time last year, nobody knew who he was. And now he's got a chance to be a head coach and one of the highest paid ones in the NFL. Are you kidding me? You can't be mad at him, Ree. I mean, it was nasty the way he did y'all, though. I get that. That was some nasty shit. Not returning your calls. He practically ghosted you, right? After y'all thought y'all had an agreement in place. He even texted everyone and said, Baker Mayfield and the likes, I'm back, right? I'm coming back. So yeah, it was nasty, but Ree, come on, man. That kind of money, that kind of power, it's hard to say no to that. He could have got Byron Leftwich. And you saw this up close and personal, Ree. He could have got Byron Leftwich. Remember, Byron Leftwich had that same opportunity to go be Jacksonville's head coach after you won the Super Bowl in 2020. And he didn't want to work with that same GM. Nobody wanted to work with him. And he told Jacksonville, if you get rid of him, you can have me. And they chose the GM over Byron Leftwich. Leftwich went back to Tampa Bay. Shit didn't work the next year. He got fired. Have you seen Byron Leftwich since? Where's Byron Leftwich? You can't take this shit for granted, Ree. You can't blame him for that. He could have got Byron Leftwich. I would have done the same thing. You would have done the same thing. Okay? It wasn't ideal the way he did, y'all. He could have manned up and said, hey, I did take that other interview with Jacksonville. I know I said I wouldn't, but things changed, right? He could have manned up and told y'all. But you would have taken the interview, and then the money they offered him, the power they offered him. Come on, Bree. Come on, man. Come on. Let's see. Okay, so the deal is 100 million, 100 million, 100.5 million, excuse me, for Sam Darnold. So that's even less. So now let's recalculate that. That's $33 million a year for Sam Darnold, roughly. So with 55 of it guaranteed. So that's even better for the Seattle Seahawks. That's even worse for Geno Smith. So I get why he turned it down. Justin Fields on a 2-year, $40 million deal to the Jets. 2 years, $40 million to the Jets, $30 million guaranteed. Indianapolis Colts just dropped the football. They just dropped the ball. They just dropped the ball. That should have been them. I like it for him. We all thought that's where he would end up. I told you would see the quarterback dominoes fall soon as Sam Darnold found a home. And now you're seeing it. Fields is now a New York Jet. And there's still more to come. Justin Fields, now a New York Jet. 2 years, $40 million, 30 of it guaranteed. And he just needed somebody to believe in him. They're going to believe in him. They're going to give him every opportunity. And I love that. I love that for him. I love that for him. He just needs somebody to believe in him. Steelers to sign Darius Slay. This is such a Pittsburgh Steelers signing. They signed every old-ass has-been corner that they could think of every 2 or 3 years. Remember, Joe Hayden was the last one. Remember, no, he wasn't. They've had a streak of these, right? It was Joe Hayden. First of all, Ike Taylor was around for way too long. Then it was Joe Hayden. They went and got him when he was way past his prime. Then they went and got Patrick Peterson. Remember that? Remember that? Patrick Peterson for a year? And now they went out and got Darius Slay. Like, this is their move. They love old, crusty corners. And I talk about this all the time. The cornerback position is no country for old men, but the Steelers love them old and they love them crusty. That's the perfect fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Darius Slay. Somebody asked me where I thought he was going to end up. I said Pittsburgh. I was joking because they signed old corners, and look, he ended up going to Pittsburgh. This is crazy. Oh, man. Lustradamus strikes again. Oh, man, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. But again, teams have identities, right? We talk about this. There are certain teams that you can look at a situation, look at a player and say, this is what this is supposed to look like. This is the fit because this is what this team does. Like, you can look at a player where they are in their career and say, he's a fill in the blank because that's their MO. And that's what the Steelers' MO is. They love signing old, crusty corners. And they just added another one. Good for them. We'll see what the terms of that deal looks like. But Super Bowl champion Darius Slay now going to be a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's see. Jason Files, been a member for 36 months. Salute to you, my friend, who writes, what's up, Lou? All the best to you and the family, likewise. What are we doing at corner? Do you think we sign a free agent edge or all in on Trey, depth at O-line? Yeah, all of those things are going to get done. I told you, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon, this free agency thing is. Everybody thinks that free agency ends in the first 3 hours, the first day. You know, there's going to be free agency tomorrow too. And the day after that, 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 and the day after that. Now, again, the cornerback market, they've taken some of the options off the top. Paulson Adebo, gone, right? That was an option that we talked about. Carlton Davis, gone. That was the option we talked about, but I didn't think he was coming here. Like, DJ Reed, to me, was never an option for us, but he's gone, right? So some of the corners, but Mike Jack is still there. That's my guy, right? And Mooney Ward is still there, right? The guys that I thought, those are the two guys I thought, well, those are the two guys I would have been choosing from in particular. And they're still there. So I'm not worried about their edge rusher. I keep telling y'all, Dio Odangbo. That's the guy you need to be focused on, right? That's the guy that I think is coming here. And Josh Sweat is still out there. Although I don't want to overspend for him, he's still available, right? And I'm getting worried because and you know, the good thing is, being that the Patriots are spending up all their bread, and all these teams that have a lot of money like Tennessee, they're spending up all their money on stupid shit. Now, not the Patriots, but the Titans are. Cool, right? You got to do that when you're in their position. But that should pull the price down on a Josh Sweat, where his market should come back to earth. Because when you got teams bidding on your services, that's when the price goes through the roof. That's how Milton Williams got to 26, because the Panthers thought they had him, and then the Patriots had to swoop in and outbid them, right? That's how the price goes up. But if you don't have teams bidding on your services, now you get fair market, right? Now the market is spoken, and it's going to be more of fair market value than it is an overpay, right? An overinflation of your deal. So I'm comfortable with where we are everywhere. Like, I didn't expect us to be super aggressive right out of the gates. I expect us to have a corner before the day's end, right? I expect us to have a corner before day's end. So we'll see what happens. And as far as O-line depth, we'll see what happens. That's down the road, because again, it wasn't a great group of offensive linemen to begin with. So I told you I'm more so worried about depth. Well, you can get depth later on in the process. You don't have to go and get that right away. Cam Bynum, former Viking safety, now with the Colts on a 4-year, $60 million contract. So that means that the Vikings now have a void at safety. They could fill it in the draft. They could fill it in free agency. But also that means that they're not going to bring back their safety. And the Colts had a safety that they drafted out of Utah about 4 years ago, who's a good football player. He's a free agent, and they're not bringing him back. Julian Blackmon, he's now available. So we can see a situation where Julian Blackmon goes to Minnesota and Cameron Bynum goes to the Colts, right? We saw that last year with the Vikings, where they essentially swapped edge rushers with the Texans, right? Texans got Danielle Hunter, and they got Jonathan Grenard, and it worked out for both teams. So we'll see what happens. But again, I'm not concerned about edge rusher, right? Because I talked about this. Once teams spend a lot of their bread, the market calms down. That's why you go out there, you get a deal. If you feel good about the deal you're signing the guy to, you sign him, right? But early on in the process, when all this money's being thrown around, you got to be careful, because this is when the shit gets out of control. That's how you pay $82 million for Dan Moore, right? Dan Moore is not worth 4 years. That's how you pay $26 million a year for Williams. He's not worth $26 million. You got to be careful. This is when you let the shit settle. Let the market, let everybody that wants to throw away money like it's monopoly money, let them throw their money away. And then once everything settles, right, and the shit start to make sense, that's when you dive in and you get yours. If you can get a deal that makes sense for you, like the Javon Kinlaw one did for the Commanders, then you do it. You don't have to wait. It makes sense. But if the shit's out of whack, you got to wait. And if the deals that the guys are getting that you wanted are out of whack, then those deals weren't meant for you, right? Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. You got to say, I'm not willing to spend more than this for this guy. This is what I think he's worth. And if I can't get him at that number, then I got to move on, right? Certain guys, you're willing to go above that and say, you know what, whatever it takes to get this guy, I want him. There's not a lot of those guys in free agency this year. It's just not. So, again, you got to be smart about this, right? Let's see. Uh-oh. So Deo Adangbo is now a Chicago Bear. They're being aggressive. Both sides of the line of scrimmage. $16 million per, according to Adam, or according to Rap. 32 fully guaranteed. So it's sounding like if it's 16 per, it's sounding like a 3-year 48. 3-year 48, 4 years 64, 32 fully guaranteed. Somewhere in that neighborhood. So a young pass rusher going into the prime of his career. Like I said, I wasn't the biggest Deo Odangbo fan, but I know how they operate, how they're thinking, how they work. They were more so looking for upside, right? That's why they went out and got Javon Kinlaw, but that was upside with a guy that they were familiar with. Like, I know Kinlaw. I was a part of that process of drafting him in San Francisco. So you got to take all of that stuff into consideration. Odangbo was a guy that was upside, 25 years old, had a good year, right? Was ascending. Then last year he kind of descended, and you kind of not sure what he's going to be. I'm not a big Dio Odangbo fan, but I thought that would be the direction they went in. But he is now gone. He is going to be a member of the Chicago Bears. So the Bears continue to be aggressive on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And that's an interesting deal. Now he'll be opposite of Montez Sweat on the defensive line. So still a lot of guys out there. Edge rusher, again, I told you I would be cool with Zadarius Smith. And he's not going to cost, and that's a 1-year deal, not going to cost you a bunch. I'd be cool with that. I know a lot of people wouldn't be, but I would be fine with that. So, and drafting an edge rusher, right? Like, that's a combo package if you're going to do that, because he's here for 1 year. You want his replacement to be ready to step in next year. It's the same thing that they did with Jordan McGee last year, except McGee got hurt, right? Is you want to have his replacement on the roster already. It's the same thing they did with Ben Sinnott. They were hoping Ben Sinnott would be able to step in for Zach Ertz this year. Ertz just played so well. Sinnott didn't give them much of anything, and so we got to run it back. Same thing they're doing with Jordan McGee and Bobby Wagner, right? And then they're hoping this year McGee will be ready to step in next year. Sinnott will be ready to step up next year, and you go about it that way, right? But we'll see. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, Sam Darnold got the same deal as Baker Mayfield. He's not as good of a quarterback as Baker is, Lou. He's just not. He's not. But you got to also take into consideration that the money went up, right? Salary cap went up by $24 million. It was at $255 last year. It's at $279 this year. So you got to take that into consideration too, Ree, that the money on the cap went up. So the money that these players are going to get paid went up. So you'd have to adjust for inflation to be able to say what Baker's deal would look like. That same deal would look like in today's NFL salary cap economy. It'd look a little bit more because he is a better quarterback. But again, you should consider yourself lucky, for getting Bake on the deal, because Bake is a beast. So you're getting him on a discounted rate, and eventually you're gonna have to probably pay him a lot more money the next time around. So I agree with you. He's a much better quarterback, though. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, John Perez. Writes, wow, Lou, Darnold to Seattle. I think we kind of predicted that, right? Guess it's JJ McCarthy's time in Minnesota. It should be. It absolutely should be his time. There's no reason for them to go on. And there's still veterans that the Vikings have kicked around the idea of bringing in. I just let the young fella play. If he's healthy, that's the most important part. If he's healthy, let him play. If he's not healthy and you're worried about that, then you got to bring in a veteran, right? All the pressure is on him to go out there and perform right away. It's on him, but that's what you want, right? He was a top 10 pick for a reason. That's what you want. You want him to be able to, it's pressure. Go out there and get it done, right? Go out there and go get it done without question. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, Liam Cohen is a bitch. He's allowed to change his mind, but we didn't have time to make a punk ass move like that. So again, I know you don't love it. You don't love the move. You don't love the way he went about it, and I don't love the way he went about it either. But I would have made the same decision. I just would have been more upfront with it. I know you understand what I mean by being Byron Leftwich. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be in that position. You know what? I'll give you that one hits home for you. It should, as you know Byron Leftwich very well. But I'll give you an even more recent example of that. Bobby Slowick was in the exact same position as Liam Cohen was last year, right? Bobby Slowick was the hot, young offensive coordinator coming up in the game. Look what he just did with C.J. Stroud, and he was getting interviews. And the Texans said, you know what? We're going to sweeten the pot for you, bro. We're going to give you a pay raise. We're going to give you a pay bump so that you don't, take a head coaching job. We're going to make you one of the highest paid offensive coordinators in the league. So you don't take a head coaching job because we think that highly of you. You know what happened to old Bobby Slime this year? You know what happened to him? He got canned. He got fired. Things change in this league, man, very rapidly. So I can't blame Liam Cohen for cashing in, just like your coordinator the year before, Danny Canales, right? Dave Canales, cashed in. When your stock is up, when your shit is hot, strike while the iron's hot. When your stock is as high as it could go, cash out, bro. Because it's only going to go down from there, right? You got to be in a Ben Johnson type of situation where your shit ain't going down no matter what. Those guys weren't in that position. So you got to take it. So I get it, but I also you got to understand. You got to understand what it is. All right. Ree writes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Ree writes, we just signed Samaje Perine, 3 years, $22 million. Why? We have Bucky Irvin and Rashad White. So Samaje Perine does a lot of the dirty work. Samaje is a really good pass protector. Samaje can catch it out of the backfield, and he's very durable, right? He doesn't do anything extremely well, but he does everything good. You remember what I used to say about that, Ree? Remember what I used to say? What the acronym for that was? That's Samaje Perine. So, if that's in fact true, if you guys have signed him, and I haven't seen any reports here, and so be careful. I always tell y'all this time of the year, be careful, because until somebody reports it, and I haven't seen that, and I've been, kind of trying to stay really current with the moves. Let me go inside of the app and actually see if anything has happened. Matter of fact, I don't know if they keeping up with their stuff or not, but let me see if they're inputting these deals in here. All right. Here we go. Well, I don't think they're doing it yet. So yeah, I haven't seen anything with Samaje Perine on it. Because honestly, 3 years for Samaje. How old is Samaje? Feels like he's getting up there. So 3 years, $32 million. Okay, hold on. No, that's not right. 3 years, 32 million guaranteed. So my guess is it's 48 million. And that's what I said. I said 3 years, 48, or 4 years, 64 with 32 guaranteed. It just feels like it'd be 3 years, 48 with 32 fully guaranteed. That's what it feels like. All right. So yeah, I don't see anything to suggest Samaje Perine signed with you guys, but I'm actually curious now to how old he is. Feels like Samaje has been in the league for a very long time, and we drafted him a while back. 3 years, 22 million feels like a lot of money and a lot of years, more importantly, for a guy like Samaje Perine. Doesn't sound like something that y'all should be engaging in at this point. Oh, he's 29. Damn, he feels a lot older. So yeah, he did sign. I'm seeing it here. 3 years, $22 million with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, that did in fact happen. And he's only 29. I thought he was like 31 years old. He felt like he'd been in the league forever. We drafted him in 2017. That feels like a lifetime for a running back. But he does all of the dirty work, man. He'll catch it out of the backfield. He'll be physical in the run game if you hand it to him. But he's more of a guy you throw passes to, a guy that can protect in the pass game. Just be a Swiss Army knife of sorts. He's dependable. That's why teams love him. That's why Kansas City loved him. That's why the Bengals loved him. That's why Sean Payton loved him and brought him in. And he'll be the same way for you, right? A guy that you can depend on. and he'll do a little bit of the dirty work for you. So solid move. Just felt like a lot of years for a guy that's pushing 30. But I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel writes, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Video channel writes, Commander Twitter's just panicking right now. Of course they are. This is why you can't be emotional and you can't allow that. And I tried to warn you guys about what was coming. You don't stay financially flexible and fiscally responsible by spending in the first few minutes of free agency. That's not what the good organizations do. Did you hear Baltimore doing anything? You hear Buffalo doing anything? Kansas City has made a couple of moves. They've been low grade, 2 years, $20 million for a guy you'd never heard of as a tackle because they're going to try to go cheap there. Like, do you hear any of the big name teams that are very good doing anything? It's all of the teams that are garbage with a bunch of cap space. The Panthers, the Titans, the Patriots, right? There's a couple of teams that got in and got what they needed and got out, like the Lions, right? Went and got them a corner and said, all right, let me get mine and get out. The Bucs have spent a little bit of money, but most of it was on their guys. Right? They spent on their guys for the most part. So you can't get wrapped up in who's doing what, who ain't doing what. Cowboys fans losing their shit too, like they do every year, right? But this ain't the time to spend if you're trying to be smart about it. Again, get in, get what you need, and get out. Get what you need and get out. So, again, if you look at who's doing the spending, it'll make sense to you. All right. Just because you got it. Now, this is the argument I had with people last year. Just because you got it don't mean you got to spend it. We're not little kids here. We didn't just get allowance and it's burning a hole in your pocket and you got to go to the corner store and buy up all the candy and chips and juice and soda that you don't have to spend this. You don't have to spend it right now. There are a lot of free agents still available. So, again, we'll see what happens. But I told you that a lot of the teams that, or a lot of the guys that they were going to go after weren't going to be these names that you were thinking. It's going to look a lot like last year. I told you about that. James Pierre and Michael Davis. And you know what I'm saying? Like, these were the type of guys we signed last year. So fast, how you forget? Olamide Zaccheaus, right? These are the guys we signed last year. These aren't day one free agents. So I said it's going to look a lot like last year. You thought I was bullshitting. That's the problem. You thought I was bullshitting. You didn't listen when he spoke. He said he was going to be aggressive, and he is. Just not the aggressive that some of you were looking for. Y'all got caught up in names because y'all play Madden. And so you want the name and the recognition, but that ain't what moved needles on the field. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's check the so yeah, it's a lot of people panicking right now. Diami Brown, 1 year, $10 million, can get up to 12. What'd I tell you, Derek B? Huh? What'd I tell you? You saw the money Tutu Atwell got, right? I said that's a baseline for Diami. Y'all thought that Diami Brown wasn't going to have a market? Now, it's not a multi-year deal because somebody's like, yo, I need to see it. But y'all didn't think Diami was going to be able – I heard some people were saying Diami wasn't even going to be able to get more than $6 million out here. Like, are you crazy? Man, this team's out here hurting at receiver. Broncos are expected to sign former 49ers safety Talanoa Hufanga. So the Broncos making their cameo into the free agency realm and fray, and it looks like they may be coming away with Talanoa Hufanga. So that's not a done deal yet, by the way, just so we're clear, but it is something that is potentially in the works. But as we saw last time with Milton Williams, until it's actually been agreed upon and we got some numbers or we got something a little concrete, you can't just run with that. But he said it's expected to be a 1-year deal for Hufanga. Diami Brown, 1 year, $10 million in Jacksonville. I think he can flourish out there. We'll see what happens. The Cameron Bynum deal in Indy is 4 years, $60 million. So $15 million a year for Cam Bynum. So good deal for him. Really good deal for him. So starting to see a little bit of movement in that safety market now with Talanoa Hufanga, with Cam Bynum. Trayvon Muehrcke was the first domino to fall there. Now you're starting to see the other ones kind of fall into place. So starting to see a little bit of movement on that safety market now as well. Will Kavanaugh, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Will? I live in Pittsburgh. Word on the street is the Steelers are about to sign Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but we'll see. I've said that if Rodgers can't get to a contender, and the two that were left, because the Rams were off the board, were Pittsburgh and Seattle. And if he couldn't get to those two destinations, then he probably just needed to retire. Now you're just playing for the love of the game. And if you and look, who am I to tell him not to play for the love of the game? But if you're not going somewhere where you got a realistic shot at winning the Super Bowl, what are we talking about? So it's probably Pittsburgh or bust for him. If he can't get to the Steelers, if it doesn't make sense for both sides, he probably should just retire. Okay. Whoa. So it is not a 1-year deal for Talanoa Hufanga. It is a 3-year, $45 million contract with $20 million guaranteed at signing, according to Adam Schefter. So that is not a 1-year deal. And they have agreed. And we see what the safety market is. So Cam Bynum got 15 per on a 4-year deal. Talanoa Hufanga gets 15 per on a 3-year deal. What did Trayvon Muehrcke get? Okay, so we got information on the Milton Williams deal. Milton Williams deal, 4 years, $104 million with $63 million guaranteed. Carolina worked on a deal, but New England upped its price and would not be denied. Yikes. 4 years, 104 for a guy that's never gotten double-digit sacks before? What? What? Zoinks, Scoob. Jeebles, Caribas. Good gracious. All right. So Trayvon Muehrcke, I think 17.5 milli. For his deal. So the safety market they're eating good this year. They're eating good. 15 is the going rate for a quality safety. I don't think we're going to see anybody pass Talanoa Hufanga's number of 7 or Trayvon Muehrcke's number of roughly right around 18 or so. So we see what that market is now. Terry Maples, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. All right, 49ers have a deal with tight end Luke Farrell, who has agreed to terms with the 49ers on a 3-year, $20 million contract with $11 million guarantee. That would have been John Bates. That would have been John Bates going to San Francisco if we didn't sign him. You think John Bates didn't have a market? You outside your damn mind. These blocking tight ends, there is a place in the league for them. You want to run the football, you better have one of these boys that will block at the tight end position. That would have been John Bates right there on that 3-year, $20 million deal. Why are you bullshitting? All right, so let's see. Terry Maples, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Terry Maples writes, AP has a deal up his sleeve. Hendrickson, or dare I say Micah, stay up, Lou. Nah, Micah Parsons isn't going anywhere. But I definitely see him trying to get Trey Hendrickson. But again, we'll see what everything kind of works itself out to be. I went into this thing with modest expectation, knowing that it would look a lot like last year. And the difference between this year and last year is there was a lot more talent available in free agency. So this year, not as much talent, but if you know what you're looking for, and that's the beauty of what we've established in Washington now, is now you know what you're looking for. You're looking for a specific type of player that has specific attributes and characteristics and traits. And if that guy does not meet your criteria, he can't be a commander, right? There's a commander standard. There's a commander tag that you place on players now. And not everybody fits that tag, right? Not everybody fits that standard. So I don't know if he's got something up his sleeve. Like I think that's where the disappointment for fans comes into play, is because I think a lot of people keep waiting for something big to happen. And when you wait for something big to happen and it doesn't, now you're disappointed. Now you're disappointed. All right. Josh Sweat, big news. Josh Sweat is on his way to Arizona to reunite with his former defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, on a 4-year, $76.4 million deal. And so it makes sense because when Gannon first left, he took the linebacker with him, who played really well for him in Arizona. And so it makes a ton of sense that Josh Sweat is on his way. 4 years, 76. Let's do some quick math. 20 would be 80. So you take off 4. So you're talking about $19 million per year. That's good money. That's not an overpay. I thought somebody was gonna break him off on some Milton Williams type shit. Right. So that's not a gross overpay. That's $19 million per year, roughly. So I've no issues with that. That's not an overpay. But I don't know if he'll ever get you double-digit sacks again. That's the issue I have with Josh Sweat. He's a good football player, but am I comfortable paying him almost $20 million to get me, 8 sacks a year, right? I'd rather pay you 15 a year if I know you're going to get me somewhere between 6 to 8 sacks. I'm comfortable with 15. I don't know if I'm comfortable with 20 million a year, right? There's levels to this shit. So, so both of those Eagles guys that we expected to get big money have gotten good money. Oh, another update. Bills are signing former Chargers wide receiver Josh Palmer to a 3-year. That is a great move by Buffalo. That is a great move. Oh, that is some sweet action for the Bills. He's young, and they don't really have shit at receiver that like gets you excited. Keon Coleman may turn into something. He may just be a number 2 receiver. He may be a number 3 option at this point. Who knows, right? I was not a Keon Coleman guy coming out of Florida State, and people told me I was tripping. I didn't see anything last year that makes me believe he's anything more than a 3rd option in this league. So we'll see. They didn't. Khalil Shakir, they love him. He's a 2, right? He's not a 1. He's a 2. Josh Palmer's not a 1. I think he could be a 2 in this league. He's really a 3. So they got to figure out that number 1 thing. But this upgrades, and this is the thing, and Josh Allen showed this last year, that he could get you to the championship game without having a legit number 1 wide receiver. Because Amari Cooper ain't do shit for them last year. So if you're going to go with 22 2s, you better have one of them 1s. And they do. And Palmer's going to upgrade that wide receiver room. I like that move for them. I like it a lot. 3 years, 36. I wish my Commanders would have done that. That would have made a ton of sense. But again, he's a Bill. I'm not mad at it. That's a good number, too. 3 years, 36 with 18 fully guaranteed. That's a good number, man, for Josh Palmer. Really good number. Really good number. Will Kavanaugh, been a member for 26 months. Right. Whatever happens, I trust AP. That's what it should be. You know, that ultimately, that's what it should be. And we heard so many fans, and this is the thing that I always laugh at, which is why I don't get bent out of shape when I see the when I see people saying crazy shit on social media, because social media is not real. Right? It's not a real place. So people say whatever. So I always tell y'all, be careful out there. So I don't get triggered by that. But I find it interesting that our fans do this all the time. I can't speak for other fan bases because I don't interact with them as often. And the ones that I do interact with from different fan bases, they don't do this. But I'm pretty sure this happens with every fan base, if I had to guess. But you say one thing out of your mouth, and then you do the exact opposite when push comes to shove, right? When shit gets real, a lot of our fans don't know how to handle it. And what I mean by that is, when we talked about how painful it was going to be to get us a quarterback, how bad we were going to have to suck, I said, are you guys prepared for this? Because that last year, Rivera, a lot of y'all wanted to lose and get Rivera the hell out of here and start anew. And I, that's just not how I'm wired. I wanted Rivera gone, but I didn't want to lose. I wasn't willing to take the punishment that it was going to take. But once I saw where it was going, I was like, no. Once you're in it, well, we got to go all the way in. You can't be the Giants and be doing a hokey pokey. You got your left foot in, you take your left foot out, you put your left foot in, and you shake it out. You can't be doing a hokey pokey. You put both your damn feet in, and you say, I'm in it. And I'm going to take my lumps, and I'm finna get this quarterback. People weren't ready to do that shit last year. They talked about it. They talked a good game. But when it came time to take them lumps, they ran. Right? This year in free agency, I said, we got to trust Adam Peters no matter what. And they said, yeah. We got to trust Adam Peters no matter what. Right? Soon as we get to free agency and they don't like something, Adam Peters is trash, they going crazy. It's the same shit we did last year in the regular season. We started off 7-2. And everything was great. And we said before the season started, hey, all we're really looking for is to find our quarterback, and anything else we get out of this season is gravy. It's icing on top of the cake. And if we get an opportunity, maybe we'll get sprinkles, right? Maybe we'll get some ice cream and we'll get a cherry on top. Well, we started 7-2, and people were still waiting for the other shoe to drop. We hit the 3-game skid, and they bailed. I said, hey, we're good. They bailed. Oh, same old Commanders. We're ass, this, that, and the third. Adam Peters didn't do enough in the offseason. They went nuts. Fans are fickle. This is what they do. All right. This is what fans do. They love you 1 minute, they hate you the next. You can't please everybody. So just do things the way you see fit, because you're not going to be able to please everyone. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Ree, writes, Jason Light says the Pt.1 signing was false. There were talks, but they fell through. He's back in Cincy. Okay. That was a lot of money in a lot of years for Samaj Pt.1. I'm just going to be honest with you. I wasn't comfortable with that. But again, that's not my money. Not my problem. But 3 years, $22 million? It's a little bit much. It's a little bit much for me. It's a little bit much for me. All right, let's see. All right. So that makes more sense to me that that wasn't a real deal. That makes a lot more sense. Twin D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Twin D, writes, hey, LT, what's up, Twin D? With Philly losing Williams and Sweat, should we be wary of them sneaking in on Hendrickson, or is the price too high, which doesn't seem to be an issue for them at times? You should always be wary of Philadelphia no matter what. No matter what. When that Myles Garrett shit was bubbling, you don't think I was nervous about them getting Myles Garrett? You damn live you didn't think I was nervous. Shit. I mean, the Eagles, they're not afraid to, roll the dice. And so, hell yeah, you should be nervous if you want Hendrickson and knowing that the Eagles, could use an edge rusher. I don't really see them going about it that way, right? They've been really good at drafting guys, and I don't think they're going to go that direction. But I said this when we looked at the odds for all of these guys. I told you there's a reason why Philadelphia is always near the top. Always why? Because they're always looming. You just never know when Howie's going to push the button. Nobody does it better. Nobody pushes the button faster than Howie Roseman. And so you damn right, you should be a little nervous if you want Trey Hendrickson. If you're one of those ones that's like, yo, we got to get Trey Hendrickson, you should definitely be leery of the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman. You damn right you should be. Look, the Eagles already knew they weren't going to sign either one of those guys back. That's not a surprise. The guys they wanted back, they took care of a week ago. They gave Saquon the extension and the new money. They signed Zach Bond. They took care of the guys they wanted to take care of. They moved on from Darius Slay. They did what they were going to do. So they knew they were going to lose those two, and they were okay with losing those two guys, which means they may have something else up their sleeve. So, yes, I would be very, very wary of them for sure, without question. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tony P writes, Lou, are we celebrating for episode 500? We might. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to do anything big for it, but it's a nice milestone and accomplishment. 500 is a lot of episodes. And that's not even counting the ones when it was the In the Lab Room podcast. So I'm probably close to 700 episodes in a podcast. But for this iteration of the podcast, which it's going to remain and stay, and it's going to become, remain a mainstay and a fixture with my brand. Yeah, 500 is a big deal. The next big one would be 1,000, right? So yeah, it's a pretty big deal. I don't think I'm going to do anything big for it though, but it's a big deal. Let's see what we got, and then I'm probably gonna exit stage left here in a bit because I have to get ready, obviously. So the Jags have reached an agreement with former Ravens offensive lineman Patrick McCarry. I told you that I thought it would be one or the other. Either they were going to re-sign McCarry or they were going to re-sign Ronnie Stanley. I did not think they were going to do both. They picked Ronnie Stanley, which makes the most sense. He's the left tackle. Harder to find a left tackle than it is a guard. They probably feel like they can find a guard anywhere. Don't blame them for that. Moved on from McCarry. He's now in Jacksonville, which probably means they're not going to go back to Brandon Sheriff. I could be wrong about that, but McCarry played right guard, if I'm not mistaken, in that Ravens offense. Sheriff is a right guard. So the writing's on the wall. Brandon Sheriff probably going to have to find a new home this upcoming season. So you're seeing the deck be shuffled just a little bit, and you're seeing the Jaguars go out here and try to find some hidden gems, right? So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right. I don't think we got any more news. We'll stay here for a little bit longer, and then we'll get out of here. And then we'll be back later on this evening. We'll have a ton more news later on. And then, more things will happen this evening as well. So, boy, Patriots are spending this bread, boy. I mean, I don't hate any of their moves, but that Milton Williams deal was crazy. But we knew there was going to be an overpay. We knew it. We knew there was going to be an overpay. So we'll see what happens. Still a lot of quality free agents available. Let's kind of recalibrate before we get out of here, because some of these guys are gonna come off the board. Wow. I'm on Bleacher Report, but let's just look at some of the names, right? So at quarterback, Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, Jacoby Brissett, Jimmy Garoppolo. Probably your top 10 options. At quarterback, Darnold signed with the Seahawks. Rodgers still in limbo. Fields signed with the Jets. Russell Wilson still in limbo. Daniel Jones still in limbo. Mac Jones still in limbo. Mariota still in limbo. Winston still in limbo. Brissett still in limbo. Garoppolo back with the Rams. So out of the 10 quarterbacks, 3 have signed deals, 2 elsewhere, 1 remaining with the team he was with last year. And so 7 guys still remain, including Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, etc. Running back. So Aaron Jones, we did not talk about this, but Aaron Jones went back to the Minnesota Vikings. It's a really good signing. I didn't think they were going to re-sign him, but he had a career high in rushing yards last year. He was really good for them. I was like, I don't know why they wouldn't want him back. Well, it turns out that they did want him back, and I think that was a really good signing for them. So he's back in, and he was one of the few free agent backs that I thought was worth going out and getting. This is a really bad group of free agent running backs. So he's off the board now, back with the Minnesota Vikings. J.K. Dobbins, Najee Harris, Nick Chubb, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, Kenneth Gainwell, Ty Johnson, Kareem Hunt, Cam Akers are the other backs of note. And you're not going to see any of those come off the board at the beginning of free agency because there's just no reason to make those guys a priority, right? As you continue on, wide receiver, T. Higgins is gone. Chris Godwin is gone. So Higgins, franchise tagged. Godwin back with the Bucs. Diggs still available. Allen still available. Keenan Allen, that is. Stephon Diggs, that is. DeAndre Hopkins still available. Amari Cooper, Darius Slayton, Elijah Moore, Marquise Brown went back to the Chiefs on another 1-year deal. So, which makes a ton of sense. Once again, they invested in him last year. Grady Jarrett, 3 years, $43.5 million, including $28.5 million with the Bears. As I talked about, the Bears are focusing in on both lines of scrimmages. They've gone out and acquired 3 interior offensive linemen to revamp that offensive line. They've gone out and gotten a defensive end and now a defensive tackle on the defensive side of the football on the defensive line. So they're not playing around. They're hammering home the emphasis on the trenches. And they've gotten better up front, or at least on paper, they've gotten better up front. You can't blame them for trying, and that's what we'll say. You can't blame them for trying. Um, Sebastian Joseph Day is signing back with the Tennessee Titans on a 1-year deal up to $7.5 million. $5 million of it guaranteed. So Sebastian Joseph Day back with the Titans as some more news starts to trickle in. So yeah, Marquise Hollywood Brown back with the Chiefs. So still a lot of receivers available. This market's going to take a little while to settle, I believe. Diggs coming off of an injury. Keenan Allen, 33 years old. DeAndre Hopkins, 33 years old. Amari Cooper, man, he looked washed last year. I'm not even going to hold you. He's 31 years old. I think he's still got some football left in him, though. But there's a lot of stuff out here that you can wait on, right? Mike Gesicki back with the Bengals. I thought that was a great move. I was wondering what they were waiting on there. They took care of him at the tight end position. So good to see Mike Gesicki back with the Bengals. Speaking of tight ends, Juwan Johnson is a guy that I think should be the one that really sets this group of tight ends their market. But he hasn't signed yet. Ertz has signed back with the Commanders. Tommy Tremble is available. Tyler Conklin still available. Patrick Ricard, a valuable piece for the Ravens. We'll see what happens with him. Austin Hooper is back with the New England Patriots. John Bates is back with the Washington Commanders. Colin Granson, Mo Alley Cox, a couple of Indianapolis Colt tight ends available still, and Gerald Everett, I believe, is still available. Although I think I saw his name here recently, but I could be wrong about that. Ronnie Stanley, as we get to the tackles, Ronnie Stanley off the board, went back to the Ravens. Dan Moore Jr. Is gone to the Tennessee Titans. Morgan Moses has gone to the New England Patriots. Tyron Smith still available. Cam Robinson still available. Jedrick Wills still available. Kelvin Beachum still available. He's 36 years old. Jalen Moore, he has gone to the Kansas City Chiefs. Dan Skipper still available, and DJ Humphreys still available. So of these tackle which already was not a deep pool, is a very shallow pool to begin with. The top 3 are gone, right? That were available going into this process. And a 4th has been taken off the board in Jalen Moore. So Tyron Smith, 34 years old, Cam Robinson, 29 years old, are among the top tackles left on the free agent market. See if anything else has happened. Nope. Okay, we'll stay locked in until we get out of here. Guard. Will Fries or Freeze still available. Indianapolis Colts. He had a nasty injury last year, so it's going to be interesting what his market ends up being. He probably is going to have to sign a 1-year prove-it deal with someone, but he was really good when he was healthy. Mekhi Becton, we know, coming off of the Super Bowl run with the Eagles. We'll see what his market shapes up to be. Patrick McCarry has already signed with Jacksonville. I think it was a 1-year deal. We'll see what the terms of that deal look like. Tevin Jenkins, obviously they've moved on from him as they've replaced the entire interior of their offensive line. So he's available. Ben Bredesen available. Brandon Sheriff, as I just talked about, they replaced him with McCarry, so he's probably going to heat the streets here. James Daniels is available. Kevin Zeitler, he's 35 years old. Aaron Banks is still available, and Will Hernandez. If you're the Commanders, you got to probably pick out of this group here. Again, a lot of these guys are considered starters. I don't know if they'll be willing to come in and be a guy that is moving around and potentially be relegated to bench duties at any point. So probably shopping from a different group of guys than that. Center. The number 1 overall center on this board was Drew Dahlman out of Atlanta at 26 years of age, going into the prime of his career. He signed a 3-year deal with the Chicago Bears. Josh Myers is a really good center. He's available. Ryan Kelly, getting up in their age at 32, but center is one of those positions you can play for a while. Austin Corbett available. Bradley, and this is when it kind of falls off. All right. Bradley Bozeman, yeah. Colton Shelton, Brady Christensen, Liam Eichenberg, Evan Brown is going back to the Cardinals, and Nick Gates, is available. So not a lot here, but the guys that that we've already seen a few guys come off the board already. And you still have Josh Myers, though, and that's another domino that I think is still one that will fall and have an impact. Let's see. Okay, well, damn, I just brought him up. Aaron Banks. I talked about him, and he's going to Green Bay. 4 years, $77 million. So just like that. One of the best guards on the market. He was very reliable for the San Francisco 49ers, is now gone off the board. So as you move on to the defensive tackle position, Milton Williams, obviously massive deal signed with the New England Patriots. He's off the board. Javon Hargrave is a free agent right now. I believe he has not signed with anyone. He was released earlier in the week. So I think he's available. Osa Odigizua obviously was signed by the Dallas Cowboys. DJ Jones went back to the Denver Broncos. Poona Ford is available, I believe. He's a really good player, low key. Levi Onwuzurike is available. Jaron Reed went back to the Seattle Seahawks. Tierre Tart is another really good football player that's available. Tershawn Wharton is a guy that I said is very interesting from Kansas City. And Calais Campbell at the ripe old age of 39, still available and still playing some solid football. So those are the defensive tackles. Milton Williams already gone. Osa Odigizua already gone. DJ Ford already gone. Jaron Reed already gone. So of the 10 guys here, 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them have already signed. Edge rusher was already a pretty thin group to begin with, and it's got even thinner after looking at what has transpired. Josh Sweat already signed a deal with the Arizona Cardinals. Khalil Mack went back to the Chargers. Malcolm Kuntz is still available. Chase Young is still available. Hassan Reddick has signed a deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. DeMarcus Lawrence is still available. Dio Odangbo has signed a deal with the Chicago Bears. Joseph Osai is available. I think Baron Browning has gone back to Arizona, I think. I could be wrong about that. They may have allowed him to walk, and he has not signed anywhere. And then Azeez Ojulari is still available as well. So that's not a very deep group to begin with. And now Sweat, Mack, Reddick, and Odangbo are already taken off of that list. Linebacker, another group that wasn't very deep to begin with, and it's already pretty much been ravaged. Zach Bond back to the Eagles. Dre Greenlaw available. Ernest Jones back to the Seahawks. We did not talk about that, but Ernest Jones, I told y'all he was going back. There's no way you trade what they traded for him last year. He played the way that he played for them last year. And I've already said this as well. Michael McDonald needs a linebacker to make his defense go. That guy was the engine that drove that defense. There was no way they weren't going to bring him back. They didn't franchise him, but they got him back on a long-term deal. Nick Bolton, same thing in Kansas City, back with the Chiefs. Jeremy Sherwood, I think he's back with the Jets. I'm not sure about that. I'll have to check. Robert Spillane is now a New England Patriot. Levante David back with the Bucs. Bobby Wagner back with the Commanders. Eric Kendricks available. Kaiser White available. So of the top 10 linebackers, I think about 6 or 7 of them have already been signed. Bond gone, Jones gone, Bolton gone, Spillane gone. That's 4. David gone, 5. Wagner gone, 6. So 6 of the 10. And I'm not sure about Jamie and Sherwood. That could make it 7. Cornerback. Now, this market is interesting because it's still got some names on it. So Travarius Ward still available. DJ Reed gone to the Lions, if I'm not mistaken. Carlton Davis, he is now a Patriot. Byron Murphy still available. Rasul Douglas still available. Paulson Adebo is, I think, a Giant. We haven't seen any numbers from that deal, but it was reported that he was a Giant. But we'll check back in with that. Sante Samuel Jr. still available. Christian Fulton, also a Charger corner, available. Mike Hilton available. Jordan Lewis signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars already. So of this group, Reed, Davis, and Adebo, I think, and Lewis have all signed. So 4 out of the 10 corners are not available. Safety, another interesting group. And this one is starting to really get picked apart. We've seen a number of safeties find homes already. So Justin Reed of the Chiefs, I think he's still available. Talanoa Hufanga has just signed with the Denver Broncos on a 3-year deal. Javon Holland is still available. He's another interesting name. I thought he would have been the first safety to go. Muehrcke ends up being the first safety to go to the Carolina Panthers. Jeremy Chin is still out there from the Commanders. Marcus Williams still out there from the Ravens. Justin Simmons still out there from the Falcons. Andre Cisco still out there from the Jags. Ifatu Melanfonwu still out there from the Lions, and Julian Blackmon still out there from the Colts. But we also did see Cam Bynum sign with the Indianapolis Colts. So that makes me think Julian Blackmon's time in Indy is officially over. So those are just a few names. Obviously, those aren't all the names in free agency, but just a few to kind of give you a mind, give you a little bit of insight into who's out there, who's available, who hasn't signed yet. And there's a ton of guys that are still available. And, you know, that's what free agency is all about. So let's check social media one more time and see if anything's happening, and we'll get out of here. So all right. Got a super. We'll get to it. We'll get out of here. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, Bears literally called up Grady Jarrett right after he got released and like, hey, old Grady. Hey, they won't play in no games. Like I said, it's been all trenches, both sides for the Bears. Offensive line, defensive line. And we saw how successful that was last year for the Philadelphia Eagles. Right. We saw how somebody brought it up with the Rams. They doubled down in the draft in the trenches last year. We saw how effective it was for them. So this will never change. As much as we talk about corners and receivers and running backs and all these glamorous positions, it's never going to change. You got to be dominant up front, or at least good up front. You don't have to be dominant. Just be good up front. It starts there. Right? If you can't do that, you're going to have some issues. You're going to have some issues. Right? Now, how good are you at masking those issues? Because you can mask them during the regular season. That's why the regular season is the regular season. But when you get to the playoffs and everybody's good, somebody's going to exploit that weakness. If you can't stop the run, you can get by being able to beat inferior teams or, you know, scheme it up so that it's not as big of a deal. But eventually you're going to run into somebody in the playoffs that's going to be able to run the ball on you if you can't stop the run. If you can't protect the quarterback, you're going to run into somebody that can rush the passer at some point. So you got to be able to play in the trenches. And the Bears know that. They understand that they really suffered last year because they weren't good up front on both sides of the football. They weren't good enough on both sides of the football. So they got their guy, Grady Jarrett. All right. Let me get out of here and start preparing for Bleacher Report. I'll be on Bleacher Report for the next 2 hours, 4:30 to 6:30, after which I will hit the reset button, come back, and we will get to part 2 of this free agency tampering period special and really do a deep dive on what has transpired, because there's still yet a lot to take place, and kind of see where we are after that, right? So with that said, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, for now. I'll be back a little bit later on. Y'all keep y'all ears to the street, eyes wide open, and don't get caught out here on these streets lacking. All right. Be careful. Until then, I'm your man Louie T signing off. Y'all know what it is. Take care. See you next time. Peace.